have to agree.
Tone, take your hands off the wheel, Tone. She can drive, okay?
I'm struggling.
Take your hands off the wheel,
just got her
Tone.
license, and I'm gonna sit in the back seat and be
I'm about
quiet.
to say, as a matter of fact, let's go. You got to sit in the back, Tone. You can't sit in the front. Let her drive. H Boogie got it.
Just breathe. All right, you guys, what's good? Happy Thursday. It is a good day. What's up, chat? Shout out to the guests, the new members. Glad to have you here with us as well. It looks like Nick, Wood, and Chris Butler. Shout out to you guys. We're glad to have you here. We have something special in store for you guys tonight. A special guest, a very well-known name that a lot of you know, just so successful, somebody we all know and love, and we have been talking up and excited to have on for so long. So, ladies and gentlemen,
this is one of my two favorites, right? I love Adam Rank, right? Who we had on before, and Sir Spain, because anyone who can feel my Bears pain with me is a great guest.
Now, with that being said, as bad as the Bears are, is it going to make you feel better, Tone, that we actually talking about the Bears? Can you handle it, Tone? Because don't get me wrong, you got another Bears fan in the house.
The last time I was fortunate enough to have Sarah on, it was me and Coach Jackson doing our show, Coach and AK, and I think we had just moved on from Mitch Trubisky, so the therapy was needed. So now things are looking better. So this is good. This is good timing.
All right.
Yes, we're gonna have that Bears therapy session for sure. We got to break that down. We're gonna break down so many things. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on Sarah Spain.
She's in the house.
What's up?
She's in the house. Hi.
All right. I like that.
So, Sarah, we already have tons of questions for you, but really briefly, I think everyone in our chat definitely knows who you are. But we would love if you would kind of share. You had a little bit of an unconventional path into the sports world. You're around my age when you actually got into sports. So I would love if you could share a little bit about that. And then, yes, we will dive into all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make a long story short, I moved out to LA right after college. I was an English major and a heptathlete at Cornell. I always knew I wanted to be in entertainment, but I had spent most of my growing up imagining being on Saturday Night Live. That was always the goal. But my parents wisely said, study something that's more useful in case you change your mind, because I was doing 3 sports, band and chorus in high school, and all the school plays and everything were at the same time as sports. So it was something I always dreamed of, but hadn't spent a lot of time doing. So I was like, I got to move out to LA and give it a shot and fail fast. If it's not going to work out, figure out what I want to do instead. And I ended up taking a hosting boot camp, to practice. Welcome to the Sarah Spain show. Let's throw to break or whatever. And everyone was trying to be on HGTV that was in the class. And so my expertise was in literature. So I just hosted a fake Chicago Bears show. And the teacher was like, oh, you want to work in sports? And I was like, no, there's no women. And the few women that exist have to be so serious. People don't let them have much of a personality. It was either beautiful sideline reporters or pretty serious anchors. I always use the example of my favorite being Kenny Mayne. And I imagined trying to do what I wanted to do and how differently it would be received from a woman. Starting a Sports Center highlight with, let's head out to, the Cavs Pacers game. There's LeBron James warming up. I've never seen him play. I heard he's pretty good. Right. That's how I would do it. And it wouldn't work. And trust me, when I started my career doing a lot of comedy sports stuff, the amount of mansplaining I got where I'm like, that's the joke or that's the bit was pretty frustrating. But after that class, I was like, I could give it a shot. So I took a class in UCLA extension in TV sports reporting. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are the things. This is extemporaneous thinking on the fly, interview skills, writing, reporting, all this background that I had in being a 3-sport athlete and Division I athlete. I felt so comfortable in the space. And so that's when I pivoted and things sort of took off. I moved back to Chicago not long after, started at ESPN radio, then added TV, writing, all the other stuff. And then within the last 8 months, I've sort of changed a bit. I'm really just focused on ESPNW at ESPN. I was in 7 years of nighttime radio and 12 total years of sports radio without a break. So I was ready to get my nights back and put the podcast on a pause. I'm writing a book actually based on a story I did for E60 a couple years ago. And so most of my time now is writing the book, which is very lonely. Very solo. I spent 12 years talking to people all day, and now I just sit by myself for like 9 hours a day, and doing ESPNW and some other stuff. So it's been a really big transition, and I will warn you that I have taken full advantage of not needing to know everything about everything all day. So you might be asking me stuff that I used to know and I might not know anymore. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to kick it off with asking you something that I know you know about, because
all right.
I know we know you just came back from Italy, but before that, you're in my hometown. You're in Toronto for the WNBA exhibition game. I knew you were going to say that, so I just wanted to hear you. See, Toronto's lovely, Jay.
He and me up. He and me up for some pandering. I am obsessed with Toronto. I immediately told all my girls, like, we got to take a weekend trip up there. The only thing that sucks is it's expensive to fly there, even though it's 2 hours. It's like the international BS. It doesn't make any sense, but it was
not that you want to do this, but you can always fly into Buffalo. It's only like an hour drive, so it's not horrible.
That's not a bad idea. No, that's such a good idea.
I actually drive to Buffalo and then fly wherever I want to go, because it's significantly easier. If you were in the Toronto airport, you know how chaotic that is. It's almost as bad as Chicago's. So Buffalo's a breeze.
I'll have to do that. It was a blast though. Everyone was super nice. The food was great. The like that big Queen and King Street where all the shops are was an awesome walk. And the game itself, I ended up getting hooked up, so I was on the floor. I was in the Drake seats. Which was so sick to be there. And the crowd was sold out in less than 24 hours. The Raptors arena, it was insane. It was a blast.
Wow. I love how.
Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I love how Tone just completely left out the fact of how Toronto is in January. It's great that he talks about how awesome Toronto is. Like, he completely leaves that part out.
Yeah. You know what though? Like, we're sister cities, so you don't have to bring that up to someone from Chicago.
It's not that different. It's not that different.
Guess what? It creates character.
Yeah.
And it allows you opportunities to explore other interesting things like cozy bars with fireplaces and comfort food. It makes you really into your sports because you got nothing else going on. A lot of indoor concert venues.
Absolutely.
It's not so bad. As someone who lived in LA, I actually embrace it a little bit more. I also have a garage though. If I had to plow out my car and if I had to do all that every day and use chairs and other things as dibs, which people do here in Chicago, once they dig out a spot, they'll put something in there. And if someone comes and takes it, they'll like cut their brakes. So I don't have to do that, so I can appreciate the weather change.
I'm from the Northeast originally, Sarah, so I know what 7 is like. I know what 12 is like, and if you can remember the Shawshank Redemption when they found Mr. Andy Dufresne, all they found was his clothes when he broke out of prison. That was me leaving Jersey. That's all they found was my clothes. That was it. I was never to be seen again. I was gone. So with that being said,
where are you now?
I'm in South Florida now.
Of course. I could have called that. Everybody is like, I need good weather. I'm going to go to Florida. I'll ignore all the other parts about Florida because that's how much I like sunshine.
I'm straight. Hurricane, where I live, a hurricane hit my town. A hurricane hit my town. A hurricane hit my town in 2004. That was the first time a hurricane hit the town in 54 years. We had 2 of them in 2 months. So the way my math works, Sarah, the way my math works is that was in 2004, right? That was in 2004. So we're not due for another one for 108 years.
Okay,
I take pretty good. You're good. I take pretty good care of myself. I don't think I'm gonna see 108 more years though. So I think I'm good.
What? Do you ever notice that? Straight. Like, there's always this story.
I don't know these days.
When I first moved to LA, I want to say a week later, they had their first like 7+ Richter scale earthquake that they had in forever. And I'm like, and everyone was blaming me.
I was going to say, based on recent events, I don't think we should count on past performance being any indicator of future weather or disaster. I literally was in my crawl space last night for a tornado in Chicago, and they never come to Chicago. And there were 8 that touched down in the area. There's a funnel cloud in Chicago that didn't thankfully actually land. But like, things are wild right now. I wouldn't count on anything.
Speaking of landing, Sarah, you talked about ESPNW. I'm a big fan of the WNBA. And one of the things that I found out about these women, contrary to popular belief in the fact that they're women, these chicks can play. Let's get to the bottom of that right now. These chicks can play. How do you feel about rule changes in the WNBA? Like, for example, lowering the basket. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one that's been brought up a whole lot. I understand the kind of surface argument for it, but I don't think that dunking is actually the draw that people make it out to be. And that would really be the only reason, is to increase dunking and those kind of acrobatic plays. But if you think about an NBA game, how often are they really dunking, and how often is it really changing your feeling about the game? The best argument against that is a team like the Warriors. What do you love about them? It's not dunking, it's passing, it's threes, it's the movement of the ball, it's the way they all play different positions. And there's so much of that in the W that I don't think lowering the rims and making the game different for women. I mean, the ball is different, but other than that, you can play pickup anywhere. You could play with anyone. There's a lot of men and women that play together. When you start altering it like that, I think you're creating a different product, and that's not necessary. If you watch the WNBA right now, it's a good product, and I don't ever miss the dunking as the reason that I like the NBA. I think there's a lot of people who are just not fans of women's sports because deep down they're harboring some BS, and they come up with arguments, but they don't actually watch it and make those arguments based on the experience that they have. They make them based on what are the quickest and easiest physical things to argue aren't in play. It's the same thing with I don't want to watch the women because I want to watch the very best at what they do. But they'll watch high school and college, and they'll watch the Little League World Series. They'll watch literally anything as long as women aren't involved.
Just say you don't like women. Just say that.
Yeah, just say that. And also, just don't taint the product, right? That's something Sue Bird said, and we've been saying it for years. But not only do women have to fight centuries of inadequacy when it comes to resources and equity and investment and the patriarchal ideas about women's bodies, literally, oh, your uterus is going to fall out if you run a marathon and all this pseudoscience BS. But in addition to that, they just have men that are so overwhelmed with misogyny and or insecurity that they actively go find comment sections and waste their time dogging it. Just don't watch it. No one's forcing you to watch it. But the active attempts to deflate women's sports and athletes, that's as much a contributor to the issues as any actual argument about quality of play or anything else.
In all honesty, Sarah, I was chauvinistic pig when it came to females in sports when I was younger, and I just felt like as a basketball player, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, and faster than you. That's of course until I laid my eyes on Maya Moore, and I'm thinking to myself, I might need some help to cover her. I don't know if I can cover her by myself. She looked like she a lot to deal with, and I just got more drawn in, like women like Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson, women like that. I just really started to dig the game even more. And I love the way it's going. I really dig it.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of dudes that might beat a great WNBA player in one-on-one, but that's not basketball. Mm-hmm. That's one-on-one. That's going to be a lot about just who's stronger and bigger and taller, right? Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of people who maybe would beat some great NBA players in one-on-one if you just had a matchup that doesn't work in a half-court one-on-one game. That doesn't mean they're better at basketball. Who's that guy that kept killing LeBron? Who was that guy? Beasley? Right.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't Beasley dominate? Yeah. But he's not a better team basketball player than LeBron, but he dominated him in one-on-one.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of those arguments that come down to, but most men are bigger, stronger, taller. That's just part of it. That doesn't make the game inherently better. And I think also there's a lot of you'll watch a WNBA game and you'll see a really awful play, an air ball or a turnover or something, and people will be like, see? And then they'll see that in a men's game and they won't react to it in any way. They'll be like, oh, that's part of the game. I also think if you put cameras in every single YMCA and a lot of everyday Joes actually watch themselves play instead of whatever BS movie is going on in their mind, and they saw how many turnovers and bad passes and misses they had, they would maybe consider that their idea of their own greatness is a little off.
I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that. No, I'm kidding. I'm speaking for myself.
Watching Steph Curry in Game 7 of the NBA Finals throw the ball out of bounds after throwing the ball behind his back, it was the worst turnover that I'd ever seen. That did not make me turn the TV off. It didn't.
Or J.R. Smith literally literally not knowing what was going on.
That did not make me turn the TV on.
That doesn't make you say men shouldn't play basketball.
Right,
our patient levels are at different.
Right. Yeah. And I do the same thing when Kelsey Plum shoots an air ball. I'm not going to turn the game off because she shot an air ball. No, that's not going to happen.
The backstory of this was, so Shaq has been on a couple of times, and he was saying, like volleyball nets are a little bit lower, and I think what is happening is the ones who don't watch the WNBA keep trying to compare the highlights to NBA highlights, and of course they're going to be different. And I think that's part of the problem is they're two different games, and you have to appreciate, for those that love dunks or love 3-pointers or whatever the heck they like in the men's game, which we love. What do you love about the women's game? Like when I watch my daughter, right? I think I said this to you, right? We're going to that WNBA game in Toronto because, by the way, we need to talk, you and me about getting that team here in Toronto sooner than later. I don't know if you all know this, but there was a rumor going around that her husband's a billionaire, big real estate tycoon. Yeah, we got to get him. We got to get him.
People finally believe me that he's not a billionaire.
I think they finally believe you. You know why they believe you? Because
you got to go to your house. You don't have a basement in your billionaire house. Yeah.
That was the original thing, guys. We were joking around last time we spoke, like the rumors were the billionaire husband. But I watched the game and she's watching it and she sees in awe. She's seeing different things that I had to be like, oh wow, look at the footwork, look at the pace, look at the passing, it's different. And if you can appreciate that, to your point, it's not. You have to appreciate that it's different, and then you can appreciate the game.
And then also
marketing could be better. I got to put that up.
That's the thing, though. I think that if you don't know any of, and I've narrowed it down to the most important things, which to me are stakes, stars, stats, and stories. What are the stakes of the game? Is somebody going to go to the playoffs if they win or not? Stats. Is somebody one rebound away from breaking a record, or are they about to get their 10th triple-double? What do we need to know about the stats coming in? Stories. Is there someone who just got traded to the other team and now they're facing their old team for the first time? Are there two people who used to date or used to be married, which is a cool wrinkle in women's sports that you don't get in men's?
That's going on. That's going on. Yeah, that's the thing in the WNBA. Yes, sir.
Couple on the Chicago Sky. They're not on it anymore.
Yes, sir. That's going on.
The wife passed to the other wife to break the all-time record for assists in the league.
We got to
hit the 3. Like there's some really cool stories about people who used to date and now they're playing against each other and they hate each other. So the stories that you don't know, and then stats, stakes, stories, and the stars. Who are the best players? Why do you care about them? What do you expect out of them? When we watch a men's game, even when the quality isn't good, we know some of those things, and it makes a moment that's otherwise boring to the average person really interesting. Ooh, okay, this guy's covering his old teammate, and they hated each other, and that's why he got traded, and now he really wants to stop him on this one-on-one because it's really important to him because it's all about ego or whatever. We don't know enough about the women's game because the media is still so pathetically undercovering them, so that when you go to watch a game and the quality isn't NBA and you don't know anything about what you're watching, of course you're going to be like, this isn't a good product. Sure. But guess what? Because I follow these women and their stories and I know a lot of them personally, the same way a lot of people know and care about the men's game, I'm into it because I know all of those things. And so I'm watching with this level of interest that is much more than just, is the basketball as good as the NBA? It's like, no, this is fascinating actually, because I know that Sue Bird is 40 and doing this. Or for instance, one of the greatest example of this, the WNBA All-Star game in Chicago last year, Sylvia Fowles and Sue Bird were both being honored. They were both playing in their final season, multiple All-Stars, MVPs. Sylvia Fowles dunked on a breakaway, and she hadn't dunked, and I want to say it was either, it's been a year and a half now. It was either 7 years or 12 years.
I think 2015 is the last time she did it. Yeah,
she hadn't dunked in a game in like 12 years, and she does it on the verge of retirement in an all-star game after, like, it was a moment that if everybody knew that, they would have been losing their minds. And instead, it's only the people who know those stories. And that's a huge
never would have thought of the story. I never thought of it, but when Dennis Schroeder just signed with the Toronto Raptors, the first thing all over the Toronto media was they were showing that clip of him and OG Anunoby pushing and shoving the last time they had played. And they're like, how are these two going to, play together on the court? I didn't even think about it.
They bring the drama aspect. Yeah. And that's why we love sports, right? It's not because if those stories weren't linked and tied together, we would have no care, but we're all drawn to certain people we all dislike. And, so those are all parts of the game. And that's the question I wanted to play, like devil's advocate in a way, because we have these conversations, right, where it's like, okay, well, this side says we could lower the rim, or we could, shrink the league or whatever. There's multiple conversations going on. But on the other end, what is the actual answer to having that draw? Obviously, one, you named it, is that media footage, right? And even that, like, yes, the comment sections are then just full of hate. So I feel like the girls wouldn't even want to like step foot near those comment sections because they're so hateful. But it doesn't matter. I think you got to keep pushing. But like, what's the actual answer besides telling people, well, you have to watch the games to like,
right,
be attracted
well, so,
to this? How can we?
I think some of it's happening. That's investment, right? That's looking at women's leagues as with the same kind of thought that they look at men's, which is a startup. So you're not expecting return on investment immediately, and you're willing to suffer losses with the intention of gains by creating value. What's happened in the past is, I always use this example, but like the XFL was in its, I think, third iteration, didn't even finish a season, blew through 240 million, and it immediately got bought again, and ESPN immediately put it on TV, and they said, it's going to work. It's going to work. $240 million, and you didn't finish a season. Meanwhile, if a women's league loses $3 million, it's like, this was never going to work. And it's like, wait, we didn't even give it a chance. We've been giving our boys $10 and our girls $1, and 5 years later asking the girls why their business isn't as successful, because you never gave it enough of a chance to invest in the way that it was required, which means advertising, marketing, giving it a value. When you go to for instance, when I go to a Sky game here in Chicago, there's performances, there's entertainment, there's a great MC that gets you up and dancing, there's giveaways, there's all the things that you have at a Bulls game. And even 10 years ago at a WNBA game, the experience wasn't the same. That doesn't just contribute to you believing that you had a good time. It also makes you find the product more valuable because there's all this other stuff around it. And that goes for pre and post game. ESPN recently adding conversations before and after major games so that you can watch and know in advance, what am I looking for? What are the stories here? Why should I care about this? There were times in the recent past where you could have a game go to overtime, come down to an insane last shot. 2 minutes later, SportsCenter starts. They don't even mention it until a half hour in. Now, at least they'll start and say, we're coming off this insane game. Check out a highlight. Then we'll go to some NFL or whatever else is the big news. But we're going to acknowledge that there's a conversation happening between the programs on this network. That was so much work that was put into that, because you have to get through to some people who have really antiquated ideas about what people want and what the value is. And the problem is, if you never actually give them the opportunity to care about something, and then you say, see, they don't care, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, and so for me,
I blame ESPN.
Well, ESPN still has by far the highest percentage of hours of coverage and rights and content and female analysts and everything. It's just a continuous fight with all of the media. And I don't think you can undersell the importance of that. I'm on the Gatorade Women's Advisory Board, so we've been spending a lot of time on the different contributing factors to girls dropping out of sports and also increasing media presence. And one of them is, how are you covering women? For too long, it's been spoken about like a charity. You should support this. Not, here's a great product and this is awesome. Not, they're fierce and fabulous and badass and rich like the men are. It's, oh, they're great role models. We infantilize them. Oh, it's your little daughter all grown up. People are going to watch for that. But guess what? They're going to watch more when they think that these women are super interesting and multidimensional, the same way we see men. They don't all have to be role models. We love Dennis Rodman. We love problematic dudes that are interesting because they're villains. We don't let any of the women be that way. Now we are, like Angel Resources.
Oh, you know what? I think PCWNBA might be, that's the thing. We'll bring out the villain in the WNBA.
Sarah just mentioned. Yeah. She just mentioned something really interesting when you just talked about like not covering it. Like the fact that Sylvia Fowles' jersey was retired and it was a blip on the screen. She's the best player in the history of that organization. As good as she was. And I remember following her when she was at LSU when they were in the Final Four. I mean, she's one. I'm a fan of the big man. So big girls also. I'm a big fan of rebounders, rim protectors, shot blockers, and the fact that it was basically a blip on the screen when her jersey was retired in Minnesota. I'm like, why aren't they making a bigger deal out of this chick today? Here's
the thing.
He's a big fan of yours too, Sarah. So you're his inspiration.
Sarah, just so Sarah, I don't know what you got to put up with at your gig, but this is what I got to put up with at my job on a regular basis with these two. I just want to let you know that on the regular.
Well, I had to work with a Raiders fan for years, so you get it.
Speaking of Raiders, I got to work with a Bears fan.
Come on.
Yeah, we gotta let's segue a little bit because I know Fluent needs this Bears moments because Jay and I are 49ers fans, so we give them a hard time for sure.
Sarah,
but
how are y'all feeling?
Sarah,
I don't know.
We have a quarterback.
I was gonna say, I don't know if y'all should be too confident because
I'm actually very confident, and here's why I'm confident, Sarah. Number one, here's why I'm confident. Number one, we screwed it up in the beginning, and the reason why we screwed it up in the beginning is because Jimmy G got paid. So what the plan should have been, we rushed Lance, we rushed him. So
we
should have played Jimmy to start. We already knew he was going to get banged up. Lance is playing behind him. He's going to get his reps. Only except we rush Lance and we throw him out there, and then Jimmy G shows up, who's going to get banged up, and lo and behold, what happens? He gets banged up. The difference is Purdy steps on the field like, y'all should have given me the ball right from the beginning. I'm the guy. Forget Jimmy G. Forget Lance. I'm the guy that you should be giving the ball to. So now we get to camp. He's got this elbow issue, which I don't think is as big a deal as you think it is. I think he's going to heal up. With that being said, I think it's his job to lose. There's a reason why Jimmy. There's a reason why
you want Lance to learn a bit more. You would prefer for him to sit behind, because I mean that was one of the biggest knocks, high ceiling, but so few reps even at the collegiate level, that not knowing what you're getting, and then the injury, of course, is
there's a reason why we kept Jimmy G, because we saw him in training camp going, wait a minute, he's not ready. Let's hold on for a second. But now we're in a position where Brock is seasoned. You're talking about a guy who played 4 years of college. He took the offense. He got the offense down really quickly. Add that to the fact that our core defensively is still intact for this season and next season. We the class of the NFC. Give it up.
I'm interested in Purdy because you think there tends to be a wake-up call sometimes for guys who are inserted mid-season that teams have not been prepping for the same way versus a whole off season of getting a look at them after a big enough sample size of games. And so you could be onto something where, hey, this guy, Brock Purdy was there all along and he just needed this opportunity. Or it could be one of those rude awakenings of, oops, we use that small sample size and,
it's that pitcher. It's that pitcher when he goes through the rotation the first time, he's getting a lot more strikeouts. And then all of a sudden they figure him out and they get his timing down, or they pick up on something, and then it's harder. And guess what? You're going to have Sam Darnold starting at some point this season.
No, we're not, Tom. No, we're not. Stop saying that. That's not going to happen.
Okay, we're not putting any injury juju out in the world for anyone.
We'd never do that. We'd never do that.
Even let's just take the injury logic off the table. Sam Darnold is a turnover machine. He does not need to be on our crew. Sorry, I'm out on Sam Darnold.
I mean, listen. Yeah, I mean, we've had the biggest, most hilarious, I don't want to say jokes of quarterbacks because they're still NFL quarterbacks. They work very hard to get there. But gosh darn it, between the neck and the Seinfeld, we have scraped the bottom of the barrel when it comes to dudes that we have had deep in our QB depth chart in the last couple years.
To be honest with you, and I hear a lot of people talking
the last good quarterback you talk about is Sid Luckman. Come on.
I know. It's depressing.
I mean, Tone, and I know that, we hear you talking about Pat Mahomes. Y'all passed on him. I think you guys would have screwed him up, to be honest with you. That's
one of the more fascinating things is people always presume that the success that a player has at a really good franchise is transferable anywhere they went. And I don't know that's I think Pat Mahomes is good enough that he could have survived even whatever the hell the Bears and their coaching staff and the franchise threw at him. But listen, I'm very hopeful about Justin Fields. I'm actually very hopeful about this season. It's really hard to say right now that this season will give the dividends that you're hoping for. But there's been a lot of teams in recent years that have done the kind of thing the Bears have done, which is have a quarterback a couple seasons in, have enough off-season money to get good free agents, which they did, get a bunch of draft picks, and make a very quick turnaround. The Bengals are an example from worst to best. There's a handful of teams, and I think in Chicago we're so depressed about the recent state of affairs that we don't ever imagine ourselves as having the ability or the right to be one of those teams that makes one of those quick turnarounds. But I think the right pieces are in place. I don't believe in a franchise being cursed. Like, I don't think our quarterback position is cursed. I think it could be, though, when you look at teams that are owned by families, and that family is where the decision making keeps getting passed around and down. That's where my concern is. Is this a franchise that will never be able to get out of its own way until they are done with the McCaskey line and on to just whoever's the best at what they do? I'm not blaming them necessarily. I just think when you look at the struggles year after year, decade after decade, that happens at a lot of teams that are owned, that express a kind of loyalty instead of the kind of cutthroat nature of most NFL teams.
And for me,
we actually are getting some answers now, Tone.
For me. I think it's a perfect storm this year because the NFC is weak. The NFC is on a downturn. Plus, the boogeyman left. He went to the Jets. So if there was a time for them to make a push, it's perfect. It's Fields' third season. He's got a number one receiver. He's got we got some good backs. We got a better O-line.
Got a right tackle, yeah.
Got a right tackle, yeah. So there's everything's in place. So I'm what is it called? I don't want to say pessimistically optimistic. I'm hopeful. I'll just leave it at that.
I love the optimism in Chicago.
I do want to say that, like, there aren't very many teams that I hate. I'm more of that person who loves my teams and I let everybody else root for theirs. And I know that if I was born there or my parents or whatever, I'd probably like their crap team too. There's only a few that I really root for them to fail. It's the Knicks, because I just hate their fan base and their interactions with Chicago and how they always think that we're similar. We're not similar. We're not similar. The Knicks have been a disaster for a lot longer. We have had a lot more bright moments in recent decades than the Knicks have, not to mention our run in the 90s continues to power our psyches and our souls, whereas they haven't won jack you-know-what forever. But anyway, the Packers are a team that I respect in the sense of, most of the guys are not too tough to root for. It's a kind of a cool scene up there. But if Jordan Love just becomes great and they just have 3 god darn Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back.
Can you handle it, Sarah? Can you handle it?
To suffer through what we have.
Can you handle it, Sarah?
I will be so angry. I just want them to suffer. No. I need them to have a lengthy drought where their quarterback blows and where they go to Chicago and we destroy them every time. I cannot handle it. If Jordan Love, like, out of nowhere comes in and it's like amazing. I can't do it.
Well, 2 things really quick, Sarah.
Emotional, damn it.
You're killing me, Sarah. You're killing me.
Number one, I'm a bit of a Jordan Love fan because he went to my alma mater.
How is that even possible?
Well, he went to my alma mater. He went to Utah State. That's number one. Right. Number two, let's not forget, Aaron Rodgers did sit behind Brett Favre for 4 seasons.
I know.
In the number one season that he started, I think they were 5-8. After that, this thing started turning into something with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not going to say that Jordan Love isn't Aaron Rodgers, but it looks like they're trying to find out who this kid is, and they're trying to build something around him. I'm not saying that he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
You guys want me to quit watching football. You guys want me to quit football. You want me to quit watching football.
For real.
I'm not.
Okay. All right.
But we'll stay positive. We'll stay positive.
Can we shift back to basketball? Okay, let's maybe go to the Bulls. Let's go to the Bulls. We have a Bulls question, right? About the
stay positive.
Yes, exactly. So, Sarah, basically that tweet literally just came out like 20 minutes before we started. It's the NBA has granted the Bulls a $10.2 million disabled player exception. So, what are your thoughts about that? Obviously, losing Zoe. The past year was rough, the past season. So what are your thoughts?
First of all, I start with I feel so bad for him. Just awful. I don't know if he's ever coming back. He was fantastic. And that system that they had really only worked because of him. If you're going to have a center that can't really defend the big. You can't even let the ball get in, and that requires some crazy perimeter pressure. And when they had Caruso and Zoe out there, they would make it so difficult for teams to bring the ball up, to start the half-court offense, to get the ball movement, that they could effectively kind of take out some of those big guys. If you didn't have Zoe out there with Caruso, nobody else could defend on the perimeter like him, and it left them completely vulnerable to all the holes in the roster that we anticipated. The way they started was a real shock to a lot of people. People were excited about DeMar and people were excited about Vooch, but there were so many clear defensive issues that people were concerned about. And Zoe and Caruso really ended that concern. And it was such a short little period where we got that, where everything was working so great. So I'm glad that the NBA recognized that the Bulls kind of got completely screwed by this. It's been 2 seasons now and there's no end in sight. I'm just depressed because it's like they're trying, but it's not even close enough. They're running it back with a team that was never going to be good enough. And it's so hard in the NBA because the regular season, to me, it's hard to keep interest and enthusiasm about as many games as there are in the regular season, particularly when in recent years, we've had a pretty good idea when season starts, the couple teams that have a shot. There is some more parity than there was when it was like Warriors, Cavs, but it's still what has been interesting to me in the last couple years, and I think has been a good development, is the whole let's go get 3 stars and that's going to be the answer has not been the answer. It's been creating a team. What does the team look like? What's the chemistry? What are the parts? How do they all fit together? Instead of when it was an arms race, which was hard because the Bulls weren't willing to spend it, and also because stars haven't been willing to come to Chicago. Going back to a team that has an ownership that's been around forever and is, has a reputation. A lot of people don't want to come. We have a lot of trouble getting the big stars. Even when like Carmelo was a perfect example of a guy who would have been the exact right fit. It would have been better for his chances of winning. It would have been better for his career. And he chose the Knicks. And he made tons of money, and I'm sure he had fun in New York, but that wasn't the better team or situation for him. That was probably, I don't want to go to the Bulls. And that's been a through line for many stars. I don't want to go to the Bulls. I'm not even considering the Bulls. And so they have to create using homegrown talent, which they have not figured out. They've also been bad luck in the lottery where they keep picking number 8, number 7, number 8, like it, and not hitting on almost any of those guys. So I'm bummed. I don't have a lot of enthusiasm about next season. I don't think they have the right pieces to compete, and I don't really know where we go from here. I think we had a lot of faith in AK after he replaced, what we used to call Gar Foreman and John Paxson and that duo. We feel more enthusiastic about AK, but I don't know that they've caught themselves now in these contracts with not really a window where we can feel like they can either trade for or draft enough talent to change things.
Why do you think the big name free agents don't want to come to Chicago? Is it the Jordan shadow? Is it something else? Is it because
it's mostly the Jordan shadow? Yeah, it's mostly the Jordan shadow. And I don't know, the further away we get from that, I don't know how much the younger guys still feel this, but for a long time, there was a league-wide feeling that because they made life so hard for Jordan at the end, and that contractually he was underpaid and not respected and ran off and played for the Wizards because they basically decided to not force him out, but to say this is the end of the road and we're okay with letting Jordan walk, which is insanity. They felt like the way he was treated at the end left a black mark on the team. Now it's hard to say all this many years later that the youngest stars would still feel that way. Maybe it is that they don't want to be in the shoes, but think about how many Lakers greats there have been. Think about how many greats at other teams there have been, and guys have been willing to go there. I wonder about Reinsdorf and the reputation as an owner. It's such a great city. It's such a great market. It's such a hungry basketball town that we've been asking that question forever here. And, the only blip we got was a lottery luck with Derrick Rose, which of course ended in all those injuries and disappointment. But those runs we had with him were not because the team was able to go out and get people, but because they won the lottery in the right year.
Yeah,
I think we have you for both. I think we have you for 5 more. Oh, sorry. Is there a Bulls question? Because
I had one quick question before we let you go. What are your thoughts on Zach LaVine? Obviously, they're talking about he's voiced maybe there's some opportunities to move. It looks like probably he'll stay, but how do you think he can adapt and keep that motivation to stay? Is that bringing in somebody? Is that allowing him to leave?
Yeah. It's hard. He is a super dynamic, super exciting player. And when you have one of those, it's hard not to be enthusiastic about him. But he creates a lot of issues defensively. He misses assignments. He gets frustrated and complains on his way back, and it gets the entire rotation out of whack, and other guys are left covering. He's not necessarily a great fit in the system. He can go off for a huge number. And he and DeMar surprisingly have worked well together as two kind of 1As that have been able to trade nights when they're going off. But defensively, when he locks in, he's not a bad defender, but he loses focus. And there's been some pretty good breakdowns of tape where you can highlight the moments where he's out of the game in his head and other guys are affected by it. And I think it really affects the psyche of the team and the chemistry of the team. And so that's one of the biggest concerns. He's also just skill-wise, the team has holes, and when Zach's out there, they're a little bit accentuated. But again, it's so hard because you look at some other teams where they don't even have a couple guys that you're really fired up to watch. And with Zach and DeMar, at least you can have a couple games every year where like more than a couple. You can have a bunch of games where you can have fun watching the team. Which is better than being middling and not fun. But I would love for us to aim for something more than middling, which is what the Bulls have been for just years now.
That's why losing Lonzo was such a big deal. I mean, you were a top five team. I thought coming into the season, the next season, I thought you guys were a top 5 team, and I thought you had one of the better defensive guards in Lonzo Ball. Couple that with now DeMar DeRozan, couple that with Zach LaVine. I think that Lonzo, he made up for a lot of their deficiencies. Add that to the fact that you had a rebounder in Andre Drummond and you had a scorer in Vooch.
Well, and Vooch,
I think you had a scorer in Vooch. I thought that you guys were really going to make some noise, but losing Lonzo, I think that was the monkey wrench that was thrown in everything that you guys.
Well, and the Vooch deal, like it looked good at the time because numbers wise, he is a great producer, but the Vooch deal ate up picks in a way that completely hamstrings their future. And without that ability on the perimeter to kind of cover up his defensive deficiencies, he's not worth all they gave up for him to score and rebound the way he does when it completely affects the way the rest of the team operates. And so that's been really frustrating. And that's I thought we were going to be positive.
We only have a couple of minutes left. We'll end on something negative because I hate the play-in tournament, but now they've brought in an in-season tournament. What are your thoughts on? Let's start with the in-season tournament. Which the only thing I like about it is if it replaces that horrible all-star.
I like the play-in tournament. First of all, let me start. I like the play-in tournament. The regular season is too long. The tanking was too terrible. And there's been some really great, interesting, dramatic moments that have come as a result, including teams that actually went far and had a run and otherwise wouldn't have even been in it if not for the play-in. And so giving that enthusiasm, that excitement, that motivation is great. The in-season tournament, it means nothing to me. I don't know how you drum up interest for it for fans. The players, if they have those big bonuses and things to play for, fine. But it's so different from something like soccer. Soccer, there's because of the scoring, because of the nature of the game, you can kind of create these artificial things, particularly in like leagues where it's not a playoff. It's a cumulative effect of the season decides the winners. If you're going to use our American style of everything is a regular season, then a playoff, then a championship, and the championship is what matters, no one's really going to care much about in season. The reason the play-in matters is because it gives you a chance to get to the thing that everybody wants. A regular in-season tournament, just so they can get some sponsorship money and tell people that they have a bonus, that means absolutely nothing to me.
You mean a money grab, Sarah? Is that what you're trying to call it?
And
that's what it sounds like you're saying. That's
I will tell you this. I will never complain about leagues and teams making more money if we're willing to pay them for it, but you better be using that money. Like, I was just listening to Chicago radio today, and they're talking about some patch on the Cubs uniform that's going to make them a ton of money. And everyone's mad about the NASCARification of sports. They got logos and patches, and Wrigley Field has a Jumbotron now, which it never did. And there's a sports book attached to Wrigley. There's all these changes. And I'm like, listen, I wouldn't choose them, But if you're going to get all of this money from all of these things that the Cubs used to turn down because of tradition, you better spend it. Like, I want you to go get Shohei Ohtani. You better not tell me you don't have the money, right? You better not tell me that you can't afford things when you're selling the jerseys and the jumbotrons and all these things that used to matter for the Cubs that set them apart from every other team, that they were a tradition. We'll take it if you win. If you don't win and now you're NASCAR and you suck and you're not spending, you lose us all together.
Two things, Sarah. Number one, we already have a play-in tournament. It's 82 games. If you can't get in the playoffs by 82 games, you can't get in the playoffs. We already have a play-in tournament. That's
I mean,
one.
they barely show up for All-Star, so it's like how I guess
Number two, this in-season tournament, I know you're going to hate this, Sarah, but I'm telling you right now. So when we have the 4-time Western Conference Finals MVP, when the GOAT talk starts, he's going to also have the 3-time in-season tournament MVP too. Yes, we're going to have that conversation. I know you're going to love having that conversation.
And guess what? Anyone with any perspective whatsoever is going to tell you that statistic is completely diddly squat compared to who was Defensive Player of the Year while also being the MVP, while also leading the league in scoring. Who has won every single finals they've ever been to? Who has never had to go to a Game 7? Who has never been someone who DNP'd because they needed some rest because instead they were playing more games at the age of 40 than LeBron does in a season?
You know what?
Team needs
but he didn't win the Eastern Conference Championship Finals MVP though. He didn't win the in-season tournament finals. He didn't win the in-season tournament MVP. That's the logic that was in here. Oh my God!
All that you want, and your space.
You're not changing her mind, Jay.
I so don't want to have that conversation. I don't.
I think the Rockets you turn it sideways, polish it up real nice.
But I'm telling. In 10 to 15 years, that's going to be a part of the conversation, and I'm going to crash my car into a telephone pole. I'm not going to be able to handle it.
No kidding.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm going to be living in a mountain house with 18 dogs and off of social media by then. It's not going to take that long. Even. That's sounding better and better by the day.
Final I know you got to go. So the final question is this. What's crazier? The fact that he has LeBron over Jordan or that he has Kobe at number 11?
Whoa. I would need to hear the 10 ahead of Kobe.
James, Jordan, Jabbar, Chamberlain, Russell, Magic, Bird, Duncan, Olajuwon, Diesel.
Oh.
That doesn't sound that bad.
No, because I know you like the big man, and Shaq is as dominant as you can get. It's just not fun. Tim Duncan is as dominant as you could get. It's just not fun. So I get that. I mean, I always really loved watching Kobe play because his style was more reminiscent of Jordan. Because it was beautiful to watch. Killer instinct, all of that.
He was fantastic.
But I also I'm not big on those ranking systems because I know we all have recency bias, and we also have whoever we watched at a certain time in our life without having ever watched Bill Russell. I mean, that's the one where you're just like, man, talk about a winner. So I will, let me just say this, and I hate to dismount on this, which is a complete, it goes against everything that I've ever stood for. But the longer that LeBron plays and the more success he has, the harder that conversation gets for me. Yeah. I still would always take Jordan if you ask me who do I want in a Game 7, even though he never had to go to one because he never needed to. I would still always say Jordan. I would still always say final shot Jordan. I would still always say best winner ever, right?
Facts.
I would still say he's the best ever. But LeBron, his career is unbelievably impressive. There is at this point, he doesn't have to earn anything else. He doesn't have to prove anything else. It's not about getting as many titles. The fact that he's made some and hasn't won is a knock, but it's also unbelievably impressive that he's made as many as he has. So I think they are both right here. And a lot of it's just, who do you attach to more? I'm obsessively compulsively competitive to a fault. And I have always loved Jordan as much as it probably ruins the rest of his life that he's like that and made his Hall of Fame speech something a lot of people didn't like. That for me, that's the athlete I like. That's the athlete I like, is the one where I'm like, you want it so bad every single second. And there are moments with LeBron where I'm just like, I don't know. And maybe that makes him happier and he's better and he's done more work off, in the world, and he's doing incredible things and he stayed out of trouble for this many years and he has a family and he's supportive of all these great things. Maybe he's a more balanced and better person because he has perspective, whereas Jordan literally could never see anything outside of what it took to be the greatest. But for me as a fan, that's what I want.
That's
maybe
fair.
at his expense.
Yeah,
It's what you
do
value.
you get caught up in those GOAT debate things? Like, do you?
I used to, because I was so defensive of MJ because that's my guy. I think being in the media has actually made me be much fairer to even my enemies. Because I have to cover them and talk about them and watch them. And a lot of people get really insular. They watch their own team. They don't pay attention to anything else. They just decide they hate everyone else that isn't their team and their coach. And when you have to cover and interview them and talk to them, you have respect for them.
I mean, it says a lot about, and Tone knows this, you couldn't tell me nothing. When Jordan retired in 2003, I was sick. Because even though he was washed, Jay was over. But I just wasn't ready to let him go. Because I didn't think that I would see anything like that in my lifetime. I just wanted him to stick around just for a little while longer. So for me to say that James was better, it took a lot for me to come to that. It were years that were going on where I'm thinking, no. I mean, we're talking about Sarah in 2013. He's a 4-time league MVP in 5 years, won the NBA championship in back-to-back years. I'm not even entertaining the conversation. Don't talk to me about this. Are you kidding me? I don't even want to talk about that guy.
He's done enough to turn a lot of us who were like that into like, let's have a conversation. Whereas before it was like, and like, I still think you can choose him and I'm not going to think you're crazy, but I think a lot of people are still going to choose MJ for a number of reasons. But, you know, LeBron has done enough that anyone who says that there's no debate, I think is just clinging to their own personal.
There's clear that there clearly is,
and it also really quick before you go, and it also was something that was not supposed to happen in our lifetime. Like we weren't supposed to have this conversation. Somebody else was supposed to be. We were supposed to be gone by the time the next guy showed up.
Oh, we always do that. We do. We always do that. We do that with every sport and every star. And for Jordan, during his time, it did take a long time. Remember every baby Jordan there was that was not even close to a baby
remember
Jordan?
Harold Miner?
Harold
Miner. Remember Harold Miner?
Harold
Miner.
That's
about it. So
I'm glad we ended on Michael. I'm gonna, I'm gonna have a smile on my face for however long I can keep myself awake with this jet lag. If I go to sleep right now, I'll probably dream of MJ, which is great.
Jordan Love.
And you did that list of jet lag remedies. Not Jordan Love. Did that list of jet lag remedies help? Did they help?
I knew most of them. There were a couple new ones, but I mean, I do the thing that they say on the flight home. I don't sleep for 1 second. I stay awake as late as possible. So I stayed awake 23 hours when I landed 2 days ago to at least try to get on it. So I that's the key. You got to put in the work. You got to sleep on the way there. You got to stay up on the way back and at least give yourself a shot.
Yeah, you guys don't know this. Sarah said, I don't know because I might be really jet lagged. So I was like, here's some remedies for jet lag. You're coming.
Before you go to our viewers, where can they find you?
Okay. So at Sarah Spain, Sarah with an H, Spain like the country on Twitter, at Spain2323 on Instagram. Those are the two main ones. They can't find me in a lot of places right now because I'm writing this book by myself, sitting in a room all alone. But I've been doing a lot of ESPNW stuff, hosting the ESPNW Summit again down in Ojai, going to the Women's World Cup in 3 weeks with Gatorade and Angel City. So I'll be doing some panels and a lot of content out there with Angel City and Gatorade starting July 30th. So just follow me on social and you'll see what I'm up to. Sometimes it'll just be my computer screen with like all work and no play makes Sarah a dull girl. It'll be like The Shining. I'm not actually writing a book, just repeating words over and over.
Yeah. Well, we had Woody Page on. You get him to help you. He's written a couple of books.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
When's your book supposed to be out? Maybe we can have you back on to share and give us
a
little
so
briefing.
In theory, my first draft deadline is March of next year. And so then after that, it's all the editing and rewriting all. So I think fall of next year is allegedly when we hope to have it out. We'll see. It's a long process.
A long
I don't know
time.
I don't know how people do it. It really,
Well, keep us updated. I'm sure all of the chat will follow you. So, but Sarah, thank you so much for coming on, sharing everything that you have. And you are welcome back anytime. You just let us know. If you get tired of sitting in that room, just give us a little message.
Thanks for having me. I'll come on and talk some smack mid-season when Jordan Love sucks.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
And if Jordan Love is leading the league in touchdowns, and he's got a QBR at the top of the
answering our calls.
We're already
literal
blocked.
crow. Yeah,
not saying it. So Sarah, it was very nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate you, yo. Absolutely.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
How you feeling, Jay?
Yo, I'm feeling good, yo. She's a dope chick, 100%.
Yes,
Tone. I dig her. Yes, I do. I remember when I first saw her on ESPN, and you see a lot of women who are just pretty faces, right? And you don't see a lot of women on television that actually know what they're talking about. And she was one that she knew what she was talking about. That's why I gravitated to her. I was like, yo, this chick know what she's talking about. So I made it a point to whenever she was on, I was listening to her. She just sounded informative. She sounds smart. She knew what she was talking about. She knew how to deliver it. And I was digging her. And the fact that we got to talk to her, I was even better. I'm definitely feeling her. She's dope.
And it's funny. There were some, but as the years have gone by, you're seeing that there's more and more.
Yeah.
And it's great for sports. It's great for everybody. It's fantastic. And like I said, the last time she was on with me and Coach, not afraid to go at it with points that we disagree on. So yeah, she's always awesome. Always awesome.
Yeah.
Give Sarah Spain a follow there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, you guys. Because I agree with you. Like it. I'm kind of in the baby stages of kind of what she's done. She's done so much for women's sports and just sports in general. But it's very rare to find somebody that has that deep passion. Like she's a fan first before her work. You can tell like that's so that comes out. And so, it was so dope talking to her and hearing how she's kind of paved that path for herself.
There's this video, I think the first time she met Jordan, like Michael Jordan, and like they're taking a picture, her and her friends, I don't know where they met him, but they're taking pictures and you can tell.
A fan.
Yeah, as a fan, she's like, like you could see like that. There's and that helps. Like, there are people who aren't fans of sports who cover sports because it's a job, and it's like I think you can tell the difference. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, I want to say somebody because I don't want to. You guys are gonna know who I talk about though. It's not somebody we've ever had, but do you know that guy? I think his name's like Adam something. He does like I don't know. You guys in the chat, let me know. But he always fills in for like Ernie sometimes. Bro does not know what he's talking about, and the guys will just clown him like Shaq, Ernie, or Shaq.
Who is he?
Oh, she talking about on NBA
is he a sports guy or is he a comedian?
Oh, he works for TNT.
Yeah,
I don't know, but man, but I think he knows that, and they always clown him. But yeah, not everybody's cut out for it. But when you find somebody that actually draws your attention and keeps views like her, you're gonna do great.
I also think that with working in
Adam Lefkoe.
Adam Lefkoe, yeah. Thanks, Throw.
I also think working in sports, we are under the impression that because we watch sports, because we cover sports, everybody is into sports, and there's plenty of people who are not, and not just people who work in the field, but people outside of it. Right? There's plenty of people who don't know who Trae Young is. There's plenty of people who don't know who Justin Fields is, and to find somebody that's educated on this stuff that doesn't look like you or doesn't appear to look like, it's refreshing, no doubt about it. It is.
It's funny, and I've shared this with you before. My brother, right? I've told you this, right? Working for everybody, ESPN, TSN, all those guys, and he's at every Super Bowl, at every Stanley Cup, at every World Series, at every Masters golf tournament. He was just at the baseball All-Star game. Couldn't care less. And maybe that's why he's good at his job, because he's not distracted by watching the game as a fan, because he doesn't watch sports. He doesn't care at all.
That's nuts. He's at the Super Bowl,
he's at the Super Bowl, taking a picture going, when's this game over? I'm like, dude, seriously?
Are you kidding me?
I remember him. This is a story. I hate him to this day for this. He was in Miami in the torrential downpour, Bears versus Colts. Rex Grossman throws something out of bounds, and some guy on the sideline jumps up and catches it. And so he messages me and he goes, yo, do you see? I caught a pass from Rex Grossman. I go, what are you talking about? The guy
that was him.
That was me. And I go, did you keep the ball? No.
He gave it away.
Go, did you get me a program? He goes, no. I go, what are you doing? You know what the kind of Bears fan I am? He goes, I was working, dude. I'm going to strangle him. I'm going to strangle him.
Mom, just so you know, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill my
ball under your shirt and you pretend you're fat. That's what you do, bro.
What are you going to do with that ball? I'm going to give it to my brother. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes. You're going to get it out of my
Can't forgive him for that
hand.
one. Yeah. All right. Let's do some super chats real quick. And then we'll keep moving through. Kaysen Allen, Fluent and Chill, salute to y'all. Congrats on 100K. Yes. Shout out to PC. That is a huge moment. Yeah. No, you guys, seriously, for all you guys that have been here for a long time, and even those of you that are new, this is huge. There's so much more coming this next year, so stay tuned. But
can I just on that 100K, let me just throw this up. Not this Saturday, which would be the 15th. The following Saturday, we have something very, very big planned on the channel all day long to celebrate our 100K. So if you don't make plans, send RSVP to that wedding. You're not going that Saturday. I think it's the 22nd, whatever the following, not in 2 days. The next Saturday is going to be here because we're going to be here. We're going to be here. We'll more details to follow.
Yep. Okay, what are y'all's favorite sports outside of basketball? Great question.
Favorite sports? I'm a big time football fan, and I'm a Mets fan. I don't really watch soccer as much as I used to because my daughter doesn't play it anymore. But when she was in it, I was a big time soccer fan. The reason why I was a big time soccer fan, Tone, because I didn't know anything about soccer. So because I didn't know anything about it, I had to watch the World Cup. So I'm watching the World Cup and I'm getting involved and I'm finding out who Messi is. I'm finding out who Chicharito is. I'm finding out who all of these guys are because everybody assumes that, if you play the sport, you know about every sport. I have no idea what a forward is. I have no idea how the goalie works. I don't know what a striker is. I don't know what none of these things are. And I'm up watching hours of the World Cup because I don't want to be that dizzy dad at the game trying to figure out what's going on. So I was big into soccer for a long time. But as of right now, basketball is at the top of the list. Football is right behind basketball, and then baseball because I'm a Mets fan.
I just want to say for anyone in the chat that said fluent, I can't see. I am no longer in control of anything.
I'm the host now. I'm the host, so my
taken over everything. So I am hands off.
For
me, it's super, super easy because my favorite sport actually isn't basketball. My favorite sport is football, NFL football to be specific. Like I always joke, like I came out of the womb holding a football. So I am obsessed with football. I married my wife, and it was of course I married my wife. That actually makes sense. But Mrs. Fluent is our house is a football household. Like, don't bother us Thursday night, Sunday, Monday night, because unless you're going to come and watch with us, because like I tell you, this is when I knew I married the right woman. I walk into the house on a Thursday, right? Kids are in bed. And she's sitting in front of the TV with some snacks, watching the game, going, "Hurry up, the game started." I'm like, "Yeah, like,
round up, that's all right there. I'm gonna hold on to this one.
That's massive.
I'm gonna hold on to this one."
But what team is she a fan of? Because it's not Chicago.
She is a lifelong Bengals fan. So she's very luckily, like she's back, like Icky Woods, Boomer Esiason, Bengals fan. Yeah. But obviously, loving Joe Burr and what they're doing now. So absolutely.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, we have four. And listen, our kids. My daughter is a Colts fan.
Can you handle it, Tom?
What?
No. Can you handle it, Tom? She doesn't know. So,
she does horseback riding,
right?
Horseshoe. That's and then my son. Don't get the wrong impression when I say that. My son is an Eagles fan. No, not Dub. My actual son is an Eagles fan. If you've seen that Nick Foles jersey from the Super Bowl thing, that's his. Like, he loves.
At least he's not a Packers fan though. Like,
they'd
be thrown out. They'd be thrown out of the house if they're a Packers fan.
She probably like the Colts because they got nice, like, different color uniforms. She probably like the color of their uniforms or something like that. That's why she digging up.
She likes the horseshoe. She goes horseback.
That's why she digging up. Okay, that would make sense.
Prepare her for a lifetime of misery, though.
It's funny that you say the Packers fan. Mrs. Fluent will always be like, I might switch my favorite team. This was years back. I really like Aaron Rodgers. Maybe I'll become a Packers fan.
No. Absolutely not. I'm not trying to hear that. No.
All right.
No,
Doctor.
to be clear, hold on. To be clear in the chat, I'm saying Dub is not my son. That's why I don't want, because you guys say it. I'm saying no, my real son is yes, because him and Dub are both Eagles fans. Yeah, that's all. I was not saying it in a bad way. It was not saying it in a bad way.
All right, Doctor, stand up, chill, and stop blushing. You held it together. I was impressed. I did.
I mean,
I was gonna make it worse, but then
your celebrity crush,
he's so
right?
nice. I didn't want to do it, so I didn't. I didn't push it. I had to throw a little something at you, but I'm not like that.
I knew it was coming though. I knew it was coming on some level. I did know it was coming. So
I was surprised. You kept it tight tonight. All right, Andrew G. My Raiders winning the Super Bowl. Y'all tripping?
With Mr. Glass at the quarterback.
Good luck. Good luck with
That's what y'all doing.
Yeah.
Who's the backup?
I don't even know who their backup quarterback is. The Raiders.
Oh, they'll chat. Let us know.
No. It's someone. It's someone. The Raiders have like a. There's someone that we know who's the backup for the Raiders. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now.
Who is the backup quarterback? Who is the backup quarterback for the Raiders?
All right, trivia question for the chat. Who is Jimmy G's backup in Las Vegas?
Who is the backup quarterback for the Los? I was about to say the Los Angeles Raiders. They are not in Los Angeles anymore. They are in Las Vegas now.
No, they didn't. Los Angeles. They already went to Oakland before they.
That's your team.
Yeah, they already
Brian
are.
Hoyer?
So.
No.
Brian Hoyer.
No, it's not Brian Hoyer.
No,
I thought
Jimmy
they signed someone.
Oh, Stidham.
Is it? No.
It can't be Stidham.
Are you sure?
Oh my
God. You know what?
It is him. I think it is him.
Is it Stidham?
Let me look it up.
If it is them, then they're done. The Oakland Raiders are done.
That's
Oakland
NFL free agency. Brian Hoyer signs 2-year deal with Raiders as backup QB reunited with Josh.
So he is the backup, Brian Hoyer.
Yep.
All right. So they're off the table.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
So when Jimmy G goes down in week 7 and he's out for 4 games, Brian Hoyer is your guy.
There you go.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Good luck.
All right, FIFA boy. What went wrong with Lob City Clippers?
It's the last word in that sentence. Those Buffalo Braves are never it. It doesn't matter who. They're cursed. They're cursed. That's what went wrong with them. They're never
injuries derailed them. Underperformance derailed them. Chris Paul not performing in the postseason. Blake Griffin getting injured in the postseason.
Not performing. Chris Paul not performing.
No, and he got injured too, and he also got injured. And he also got injured. Blake Griffin also was injured in the postseason. Them getting past this
team. Was that even a good team?
Was it an awesome team? Yeah, I think they. Okay, so they had arguably the best lead guard in the game. They had a top. They had a top 3 in 2013. They had a top 3 league MVP voter in Blake Griffin. They had arguably the best big defensively.
He vote getter, but is Blake Griffin as good as we thought he was, or was he just a beneficiary of those lobs and those high wire theatrics? Was he an actually good player?
He did go to Detroit and make the All-Star team. That did happen. So, and not only that, so you got DeAndre Jordan, who was also an all-league defender, and he was a first-team All-NBA performer. So you also had 2. You didn't have 1. You had 2 6-men of the year, both Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams. You had one of the better sharpshooters in J.J. Redick. So that team was a good team. I think they were perennially winning like 50, 55 games.
They won a lot of games.
Yeah, they won a bunch of games.
And there was a lot of hype about them because of their flair. But when I look at the pieces, I don't like, and maybe it's easy to look back and say because they didn't perform, but like, is Blake Griffin a like kind of all around good, like second best player on a team type of guy? I don't think so. Even though he made some All-Star teams, whatever. Is DeAndre Jordan like a dominant center that you're? No, I don't. Like he's a nice piece. I think they're a bunch of nice pieces. They had this whole Lob City thing. Wasn't Doc Rivers the coach of them?
Doc Rivers was the coach, yeah. But with that being said, Tone, I do know how you feel about Doc.
Like, you know what I feel like? I feel like they're like the Phoenix Suns, in the sense that there's some good pieces and they won a lot of regular season games. But like when I look back and I'm like, that team wasn't scaring anybody in the playoffs. That team wasn't going to beat a team in the playoffs.
Wait a minute, though, Tone. We're talking about a Blake Griffin who, at the time, it was between him, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Kevin Love, who was the best four men in the game. That was a real conversation going on. And it was a conversation going on for a long time. That wasn't like something that was just a one-year thing. That was going on for quite a time.
That was a very bad time for the four men.
That was something that was going on for a long time, with Kevin Love being a 20 and 12 guy on the regular, with also LaMarcus Aldridge also being a 20 and 10 guy, so 20 and 9 guy. So with that being said, Blake Griffin at that time, he might have been more dynamic than he was substance. He might have been a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. He might have been a little bit more dynamic, but what he brought to that team, I mean, there's a reason why they were winning 50, 55 games. There was a reason why they were a top 5.
Season. I'm with you on the
top 5 seed. And I mean,
they did historically though. Let me pause you for a sec. Those 3 foremen you just mentioned. Right. That's a pretty good class.
Kevin Love is the first ballot Hall of Fame.
Over the 77-year history of the NBA, that's a pretty weak class.
Really?
Man.
Kevin Love is the first ballot Hall of Fame. But LaMarcus Aldridge is going to the Hall of Fame, Tone. And I know how you feel about the Hall of Fame, but that is a fact.
Kevin Love couldn't lead his team to the playoffs not one time until he went to Cleveland.
That was a bad Minnesota team that he was on. No doubt about that.
He was a beneficiary of some very nice passing. And who was the third guy you said? LaMarcus Aldridge was.
LaMarcus Aldridge. And he was awesome everywhere he was, though, Tony. He was awesome up in Portland with Damian Lillard. Then he moves over to San Antonio.
Awesome,
he was awesome
really good.
No, he was an all-star. And he was an all-NBA performer up there. Yes, he was, Tone. Yeah, he was. He was really good. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of guys that we could say are beneficiaries to other good players, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this guy. Blake Griffin was the number one overall pick in the draft, and missed the season. And missed the season.
The number one pick. The number one pick means nothing.
So if you look at the Clippers, if you look, and I know how you feel about the Clippers, Tone. If you look at the Clippers organization, Blake Griffin might be the best player they ever had.
Aldridge wasn't the number one overall.
No, I didn't say no. I'm talking about Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin. If you look at the Clippers organization, and I know this isn't saying much, but Blake Griffin might be the best player they ever had. He might be. You can make an argument. I know that. I know that doesn't. And they only had Chris Paul.
Didn't Bob McAdoo play for the Clippers
for like 2 seasons?
He's still the best one then.
Yeah, Kawhi, sir. So we'll give it to Kawhi, even though he doesn't play.
Yes, FIFA boy, I am a Buffalo Braves hater. Yes, I am. Absolutely, I admit it proudly.
All right.
He got mad when I called them the San Diego Clippers. How do you feel about me calling them the Buffalo Braves now?
It's just getting worse. All right, Angie Carr. Why the cheesehead hate? Jordan Love, the new GOAT. Notice chill when Sarah had to leave. Could you give me just one more day? Wrist town that man.
Nah.
Take all the wrist.
Nah, man. She was dope, though. 100%. I really dug that.
Fun. It was so much more fun when people were tweeting her, telling her that she married a dude who's a billionaire. That was so much more fun. Coach was like, hey, I
don't really get the joke. So is he not a billionaire or what?
No, he's a real estate guy.
Okay.
And so when they first started dating, no one knew much about him. He wasn't like out on social media and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, oh yeah, they're talking poorly about her, and saying, oh, she just married this billionaire dude and he's going to take care of her now. And so it was like pretty bad on, you know how social media is. It was like in the crazy Twitter days. And people would go on their rants. And so, of course, you know, when we had her on the Coach and AK, I was just like you can go back and watch it. It's on Sports Fluent on the YouTube. Like, I have all those episodes archived. So if you like scroll down, you'll see the Sarah Spain episode. And I'm just like, so I don't know what we were talking. Oh yeah, she was talking about how she wants to retire. She said it today too, like on a farm with 18 dogs. I'm like, well, didn't you just marry a billionaire? You probably just do that now, right? She's like, he's not a billionaire.
She did say that. Yeah, she did.
He's on his way. Okay, Angie Cart. Sarah pops up taking in chat with Birdman hands. Yep. Tickets.
What's that?
Way.
No, he's here. Is Ticket here? What
no. I think at some point he had shown up.
Oh my god!
Now that I'm not in control of anything, I don't even look anymore. What
has our show turned into?
Oh my god!
Which one to date? Jada Pinkett Smith or Kim Kardashian?
Oh my god!
Wow. Talk about like.
It doesn't start until like Jada Pinkett, him, and somebody else.
Listen, unless your name's Tupac, you don't date Jada because that's the only man she ever loved. So I guess if I have to pick one, it's Kim, but I neither if I can. Like,
right. If Kim actually looks like she's more fun to hang around, to be honest with you. She might be a little on the high maintenance side, but
those family dinners would be fun.
Yes, those family dinners would look like they would be a lot of fun. Jada,
but you can never be yourself. You have to be like on your best like on your
good.
best.
I'm good on Jada. I wish Will Smith would try to run up on me.
I would be like that guy.
Who's that guy?
No, I'd be like no. Who's that guy that was married to? Who's that guy that was married to her sister that was just like didn't shave? Tristan, he was like,
no, not Tristan. You're talking about
that dude. I think he's with I'd be like that dude. I just wouldn't care.
I think they got like 2 kids or something like that. Yeah. But if I had to choose between the 2,
he was out of shape. Yeah, that's me.
It's Kim. It's Kim Kardashian. Even though it probably wouldn't last long because she ain't really my type. But if I had to choose between the 2 of them,
that's a lie.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not.
That's a lie on 4K, buddy.
What's a lie, Tom?
What did you say?
Kim Kardashian is not my type. No, I ain't into chicks like her.
You think that's his type?
No, I'm not. No, she is not my type. I'm not into chicks like that.
Okay, I'm not
even. She can't just throw on a pair of sweatpants, pull her hair back, and let's go to the grocery store. She can't do that. Yeah. She got to get her face together. She got to put on a dope outfit. Nah, she can't. She can. I am in love with the everyday
hair tied, flip flops, chilling with no makeup on. That's when you're the prettiest. I hope that you don't take it wrong. All right,
that's me.
Boom. All right, there you go, guys. There's some game for you. Okay. Okay, Mello. Bigger what if player: Brandon Roy, Tracy McGrady, or Greg Oden?
Well, it's not Tracy McGrady because he played for a lot of years. Not only did he play for a lot of years, he made a bunch of All-NBA teams. And so he's off the table. Brandon Roy, we got to see a little bit of it. And in the process of us seeing a little bit of it, it got cut short. I think he only played 6 years. And he was becoming that guy after like year 3. Kobe Bryant was really high on Brandon Roy. He really dug Brandon Roy. I was in the building in Portland in 2000, I believe it was 2008, when he put 50 on Phoenix. I was in the building that night. He was fantastic. But the biggest what if was Greg Oden, because we didn't get to see any of them. He broke down before he even got started. Right? We didn't get to see him. We didn't get to see him actually turn into we didn't get to see him turn into a big time center. We didn't get to see him get better as time went on. He just got hurt right out the gate. He had a weight problem right from the beginning, and then right from there, it just snowballed after that. So I think the biggest what if is Greg Oden.
So surprisingly, Jay went with the big man because he loves the big man. I would say I think I saw enough of Greg Oden to know that even if he stayed healthy, he would have been good, and that's about it in the NBA, in my opinion. Tracy McGrady, I would say the biggest what if is if he was smart enough to stay in Toronto and play with Vince, because that's the bigger what if they stayed together. Because Kobe said if they stayed together in Toronto, it would be Lakers and Raptors in the finals a lot more years, like every other year. Kobe said that in Slam magazine. So I'm gonna go with Kobe on that one. So I'm gonna say the biggest what if is Brandon Roy, because when he had Greg Oden, I want to say, and LaMarcus Aldridge, they won like 50 of 60 games they played together. And Brandon Roy was clearly the best player on that team and could lull you to sleep and drop 40 on you. I think if he stays healthy, I think he had the same thing, like the degenerative knees, I think. I think he's the biggest what if, because I think that's a superstar in Portland that you guys missed out on.
Yeah. And it wasn't really, if you watch this game, Tone, because like I said, I was in the building that night that he put 50 on Phoenix. Tone, he wasn't super duper athletic. No, he wasn't ridiculously nice with the pill. Like, he wasn't throwing it over the top of people, but he was getting the spots. He had a money pull-up game. He was a good finisher. His game looked a little unorthodox, but he was buckets.
Yeah, loved him. I liked this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of what ifs. That I think Wemby might be a what if. Not gonna lie. Okay. FIFA boy, Chilltown. Do you consider Shaq a what if player?
On some level, yeah. On some level. That's why I was as hard as I was on him, because some people, they see you do something and they just accept that. I'm one of those people where once I see you do something, this is now the standard. I feel like this is who you are. And to see Shaq as dominant as he was early, I was steady telling him constantly, yo, I don't think you could be the best big man in the league. I don't think you could be one of the best big men in the league. You could be the best player in the league. That's how good I think you are. And he would say to me from time to time, Jermaine, you think I'm really that good? Hell yeah, I think you that good because I've seen it already. I seen when you came in the game how Patrick Ewing looked at you when you first came into the game, when he knew that he was up against it, dealing with you. I see how Alonzo Mourning looked at you. I saw how Olajuwon knew that he had to deal with you. And I'm thinking to myself, Big, once you learn the game, once you learn how to play at the pro level, like these dudes did, just like you did in college, the guys like Chamberlain, guys like Jabbar, like when we used to talk about those guys as kids, you could be that good.
And I know they say this all the time, and Kobe said it, Shaq said it, they all said it. But like his what if is just like, what if he worked not even as hard, but like worked on himself, everything, game, physical, everything. Like Kobe's a stretch, but let's use him because that was the one that they both said before. Right? What if he worked as hard as Kobe, right, and figured out a way to make those two coexist? You would have not only the most dominant player ever in the history of basketball, which he might already be even without that, right? And then you'd also have a guy who probably won like 8, 10 championships, right? And now, not only is he the most, like not only is he the best big man ever, like you said, the most dominant big man ever, he's the best player ever, and it wouldn't even be a debate. Just think about if Shaq plays his whole, after he leaves Orlando, goes to LA and plays 10 years with Kobe, and he works hard. And they already they went to 4 in a row, won 3. So let's say he stays. You don't think if he stays healthy and replaces, again, there's a lull there in between of Powell, but at minimum, he's going to do what Powell does, which is they go to 3 and win another 2. So you're telling me they probably have another 2 in there too, right? So now you're telling me a guy that wins 4, 6, 8 chips and goes to the NBA final 11 or 12 times and will probably have career numbers, right? Because he was, again, we're assuming he was healthy. And like if Kobe's your number 2, again, that's why it's a what if. If they figured out a way to be like that Batman and Robin or Superman and Batman, right? They don't have to be, there doesn't have to be a Robin. They could have been Superman and Batman, Superman and Black Mamba. Dude, like it sucks for Kobe because Kobe probably really out of the top 10, even though, but because Shaq will get the praise. It's no question. He's the best, most dominant player to ever play the game. And I don't think it's debatable.
Right. I don't think it is either, Tony, because I think there's 2 different sides to this coin. On the one hand, you got a team that went to the NBA championship 4 times in 5 years, winning it 3. Tone, that's 8 trips in 10 years, winning it 6 times. Yeah. Right. But on the flip side to that, I don't think we know Bryant today had he stayed with Shaq.
But that's why I said he falls out of, he's way, like, even though he's not getting, I think Kobe drops off. Kobe will be looked at better than Pippen, so he's still in the top 20, right? He's not in that he's 17, 18, he's in that conversation with Dr. J and those guys, right? But I still think it's better for both of them because I think it's hard to say now, but I think Kobe having 8 or 9 chips, you know, again, that's why it's a what if they could have found a way to coexist, man. Yeah. Oh
well. Okay, Jamal. I feel Grant Hill is a big what if. What do you guys think?
He is a huge what if, no question about that. Grant Hill, I thought Grant Hill was on his way to being a better version of Scottie Pippen. That's what I thought Grant Hill was about to be, Tone. I mean, one of the better transition players in the game, one of the better defenders in the game. He was becoming that. He started breaking down around year 5, year 6. That's when he started to slow down. I mean, he was making the All-Star team, starting in the All-Star game as a rookie, being an All-NBA performer. And he had a respectable mid-range game. Like I said, one of the best transition players in the game, dunking the ball over big guys like Mutombo and Ewing. He was becoming. It looked like he was learning the game even more. And the fact that he was learning the game even more, he was already smart, but he was learning the game even more and becoming more skilled in the game. And once he broke down, it was after year 6. That once he broke down, he just was never the same after that. He got back to being somewhat of an elite player, but he was never the same. He never was what he was when he was in Detroit. Grant Hill was definitely a what if for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think Grant Hill was as athletic as Scottie Pippen was.
No, he wasn't.
He would have been the defender, like still a great defender. I just don't think so. But he was a better on the offensive end. So yeah, he was everything. Like Pippen was like the first all around, not the first, but like for recent memory at least. Pippen, Grant Hill, those are the guys that I think led more to. I even say Magic, right? I feel like it was without the defense, but like Magic, Pippen, Grant Hill, LeBron. I feel like that's the lineage. There's some other guys in there too, but of these all around offensive guys who can score, who can pass, and then like for Magic, it went to Pippen who could defend. Not as good of a passer, but those are the types of guys.
Right.
That's the line that I see that lead up to LeBron, and now we're going to see, a 7'4" guy who's going to try and follow and be that all around kind of guy. So we'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, we'll get to Wemby in a little bit, but sports PSP chills type of woman is J-Lo or Salma Hayek. What are your thoughts, Jay?
J-Lo is
everybody's type.
J-Lo, not so much J-Lo. And Salma Hayek, on the other hand, Salma Hayek is that. Salma Hayek was not. Because here's the thing. What I need to make sure we clear on. I'm not a fan of looks, and the reason why I've never been that, is because I understand that you're not gonna look like that in 20 years. That's gonna go away.
We're still a fan.
But yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of looks.
Know that there's more to it.
And
you need like the whole package, personality.
And on top of that, if we being honest, some of the biggest problems that I ever had in my life are with some of the most beautiful girls I ever seen in my life. I'm straight on the J-Lo, on the Beyonce. I want nothing to do with that broad. Hell no. Because the beautiful woman, oh my goodness, give me a break. It was always nonsense with her. Always. Now I'm into the naturally beautiful woman. I'm into her.
Well, just so you know, Jennifer Lopez asked for your number. I'll tell her no.
Tell her I'm good. Thank you though, J-Lo. I appreciate you. I think I'm straight.
We're curving you.
All right.
Okay.
Our bench cut. Cut.
You're cutting J-Lo. Okay, where are we? Mello again. All right. Why does Hondo get so much slander as a player?
From who? Who does Hondo? I think he's a top 20 player all time. Why does he get so much slander as a player?
He gets slander because he won the vast majority of his chips on a team with Bill Russell and Sam Jones and etc. And he was coming off the bench for the vast majority of those chips. That's why he gets the slanders, because he's a guy off the bench. And then I think he wins one or maybe two more when he's the guy on the team, two more. Yeah. So that's why he gets the slander is, people. And when you look at, remember there was that meme that came out that showed him versus Jordan. And he's got more NBA titles. He's 8-0, whatever. And he's da-da-da-da-da. So I think a lot of Jordan fans, not people who think, let's be clear, not people like me who think Jordan's the GOAT, Jordan fans who just can't say anything bad about him, hate on him because of those things. But yeah, Hondo was legit.
Higher. All right. Tatum. Sorry, guys.
No, you good. Just so you know, our host, she's transitioning into, she's just moving into her new office, right? She's getting everything all figured out. Our desk is just give her a minute.
There we go. All right. Andrew G. Tatum pissing me off. He should be working on his game. He ain't got Boston a chip yet. Y'all see him out at the Drake concert. SMH, man. Okay, I'll handle this one. You guys.
Please, thank you.
You know what? Why don't you just put the link in the chat and let Andrew G come in?
He won't come up here. He will not. No matter what you do, he won't come in here. I guarantee you.
No, he hit me up on IG last week.
Oh, you want to come through, Andrew?
But
you want to come defend yourself?
I didn't see it because I wasn't looking at my phone during the show.
He won't come in here. I don't believe it.
All right.
But yeah, no, I'll give you my take. Basically, first of all, I'm standing up for Tatum, which is crazy. I'm on a new path, I guess.
You believe this?
Who would have thought that going out and enjoying your life in the off season is gonna get you hate? Could you imagine that? These guys are actually people. I know. They have lives. They have families. they have kids, and they're actually enjoying themselves. So first of all, if it comes to the Drake concert, good for Tatum. I think he should enjoy life. And also the fact that you're upset with what he's like, you're saying he's done so little. He's done more than most guys in their first 5 years are going to do anywhere else in the league. So as much as I'm not the greatest Tatum fan, I think he's given you guys a ton. I think it's going to come down. I think at the end of the day, the fact that you have seen progression, I think you'll continue to see that progression. I think you're going to see them be successful. In fact, I think Boston's winning the chip this season, or at least in the next. I have Boston winning this year. I think they're finally going to come together. Porzingis, I think they're winning the chip this season. And I hate to say it.
Wow.
Two things, H. Two things, H. Number one, how do we know he wasn't working on his game earlier that day? How do we know that he wasn't doing that?
He should be sleeping and resting, and
which he probably was.
Listen, all he should be doing is living and breathing basketball until he brings back Boston a chip. That's
unbelievable. Why. Which he probably was. I'm 100% confident JT got his work in earlier that day. I'm 100% confident that he did that. That's number one. Sure. Number two, if I'm not mistaken, Jason Tatum, did he not have a career year this year, which surpassed last year, which was a career year, which surpassed the year before that, which was a career year?
No, he took a step back. He went to the finals last year. No, he went to the finals last year. He lost
his team went to the finals last year.
In the lab, he needs to be in the lab, working on his game, taking it to the hoop, not just shooting threes. And you know what else he should be doing? He should have Jaylen Brown in there teaching him how to go left. That's what he should be
doing. Even though Jason Tatum is one of the better finishers at the rim with the weak hand. With the weak hand, he is
not sitting out there going.
Even though he's one of the better finishers at the rim with the weak hand, one of the better one-on-one players in the game, he averaged 30 a game this season, which is a career year. He led all small forwards in rebounding. So what are we talking about with this guy?
I really believe with Tatum, and I've been saying it, and why I do think that they're going to be more successful this season is because it's a mental thing for Tatum. And we were talking about this early. Who's the next face of the league? Is it Luka? Is it Devin? Is it Tatum? I think it could be Tatum. He doesn't have as much charisma as maybe not Devin Booker. He's pretty out. He stays off the grid. He
wants to be the Mamba. He needs to train like the Mamba.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, I think we just need to, give him some time. It's taken him a little while to grow into like that side of things, but I think he will. All right. Next up is Angie. Order of importance today: money, chips, stats.
Order of importance today: money, chips, or stats.
From a player's perspective.
Money, and money.
Correct.
So the stats bring the bread, right? The stats bring the bread, and the chips also bring the bread, but you get paid before you get the chips.
Right.
It's definitely bread because the odds that I'm gonna win an NBA championship are, what did you say, Tone? Getting struck by lightning, just making the NBA is getting struck by lightning. I got a better odds of getting. I got a better chance of getting struck by.
That's right. Very much team.
I got a better shot in getting struck by lightning twice, just making the NBA. So the fact that I'm here, I should do everything that I can because I don't know how long I'm gonna be here.
So let me ask you this. I'm gonna take it to Angie's question one step further. Which career would you rather have?
7 rings and 54 mil, 300 mil, or 0 rings. I think most people are going to because think about it. That's the problem in the league today is I don't think we see that same just desire, passion, hunger that we saw from guys before to get that. They'd rather be comfortable with their 400 million in Portland, in Houston, in these places. Right? Yeah. Instead of
I can't fight that, which sucks.
Taking
I hate
that pay
that.
cut to get a chip and to get a dub.
I really do hate that. And contrary to popular belief, any great player, Charles Barkley would not trade his career for Robert Horry's. He would not. As much money.
He would trade any of his MVP, any of his accolades, stats for.
I don't believe that, Tone. I don't.
You don't think he would trade his MVP for a ring?
No, I don't believe he would trade. And the reason why, because Charles Barkley, he is who he is because of those things. And now I got to get those things up in order to get an NBA championship. I don't think he would trade any of that stuff for what Robert Horry did. None of that stuff.
Not for Robert Orr, but I'm saying if he said, "Hey, you don't win the MVP, it's going to go to Jordan that year." I think.
But you're going to win the NBA championship.
Or you're going to win the NBA championship.
I think he would do that. That's different.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's different. Jordan was second that year, right?
Which is what Jay said. Okay, Jay wasn't happy about not winning the league MVP this year. He was not happy that Barkley won it that year. But you can have that. I'll win this instead. I'll win this instead. Yeah, that's fair. So to answer the question, I think it's money. I do. I mean, chips it because we already. How do we talk about Kevin Durant? I mean, he got 2 of them and 2 finals.
It's like a start bench cuts though. It's like a start bench cut though. So,
right.
Oh, I thought that was the order.
Well, money is clear. Money is clear. Is it chips or stats next? I guess.
Well, definitely chips because no one cares about stats. People call it stat padding if you have good stats. So I think, but like Jay said, you have to have the stats to get the money. So it's kind of like a circular thing. But the sad thing is like, I don't know because I didn't live like back in the day, but I feel like it was before all the media and everything, you had to be good to be well known to get people to like you, to get that crowd, to get that fan base versus now you could play for overtime elite or play for a JV league and get somebody that's good with marketing and you could blow up and people already like you. And so that desire isn't there, or you even run out of, or you're already exhausted by the time you're in your like 3rd year in the league or whatever, you know? So, but yeah, good.
I got rid of some of them for you. I hope that helped.
Huh?
I got rid of some of the super chats for you that we already read. I said I hope that helped. Do you want to go through the new members?
I already read them.
Oh, did you?
But I'll go through again. Yeah.
No. I'll delete them.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, thank you. Chill. The most beautiful women give him the most problems. Hailey, I took that personally. No.
That's
Uncle
good.
Ruck.
You should. Yeah. If you fall into that category, you should take it personally. Good. Anyone who didn't take offense to that.
Thanks, Angie. Okay, Uncle Ruckus. What player pre-2000 had a very similar career as Lillard? Like how will Dame be most remembered?
Tone, I might be crazy, but Damian Lillard was kind of similar. Maybe he was a better version of Kevin Johnson and how good KJ was, being an all-NBA performer, taking his team to the playoffs, but just not being good enough to get over the top. He was definitely one of the best guards in the game at that time. Not only was he one of the best guards, he was one of the better. He didn't really perform after the first round. Like once you got deeper into the playoffs, it kind of got tricky for him. He didn't have the accolades in terms of the All-NBA performances and the All-Stars. So maybe he was a better version of what Kevin Johnson was during that time.
I'm gonna go, and I'm not comparing their games. So please, for anyone who's reading this, don't think I'm comparing the way that they play. I would say he's more like the 2 guys I'm going to name actually went further than him. So, but I think he's more like Jason Kidd or Allen Iverson because he's the leader of their team. He's the leader that they only go as far as he goes. Now, Iverson and J Kidd Iverson was able to lead his team to a finals once. J Kidd twice as the leader. Right, we're not
in a row, by the way.
We're not talking about Dallas. So as the leader, so I think he's gonna be. Imagine if those guys didn't make the finals. So how is he gonna? He's gonna be remembered like those guys,
right?
Because he doesn't have the accolades of Steve Nash, but another guy who was very good in the regular season was never able to make it to the finals. So I think he's gonna be in that tier of the way we remember guys. Again, nothing to do with the way they play, just in the sense that as a lead guard who couldn't get their team to win that ring or couldn't have the team built around it, whatever the case may be. That's kind of where I'm putting it.
A little bit bigger.
Because I think Kevin Johnson was never the guy on his team, right? Like
he wasn't.
So that's why I have a hard time with that. Like I see where you were going, but
that's why I said a better version of him.
Yeah, better version. Yeah.
That's why I said a better version, because I think that he was better than KJ, but it was kind of similar where, KJ, he kicked a lot of ass. He did coming in. I mean, he outplayed Stockton, right? He gave Tim Hardaway the business. So, he was definitely it was between him and Mark Price in Cleveland, and they ended up going with Mark Price, and then he goes out to Phoenix and he becomes an All-NBA performer. He becomes an All-Star. So
man,
Dame was
nice Cleveland.
Right, and Dame was very much like just maybe a better version to what he was. So, like I said, I don't think that they're the same.
KJ. Salute to him. Wasn't he the mayor of Sacramento?
Yes, he was.
Salute to him.
Not only was he the mayor of Sacramento, they was trying to take the Kings up to Seattle, and KJ shut that down. They was about to steal their team. That was going to happen.
Oh, they should have.
Yeah, that was happening.
Sacramento has no business having a team.
Mm-hmm. That was happening.
Hey, they're cleaning up their act. All right, Mello. Giannis is greater than Tatum, Luka, or Booker for face of the league.
Which Tony and I had this conversation 2 years ago, and now what's happening with Jason Tatum is he's becoming that guy who he's in the league MVP conversation. He's not that far away from Luka. He's becoming better every year. I do think that Giannis is better, but we do talk about. I feel like we talk about Tatum more today than we did 2 years ago, and more about him being one of the faces of the league. Tone, I think we get confused with greatest of all time and face of the league right now, like James, Jordan. The next one, I don't think we met him yet, but the guys that we have now, Giannis, Tatum, Luka, I think these, Jokic, Embiid, I think these guys are what the league is going to be moving forward. Jordan, James, Jabbar, I don't think we met that guy yet.
It's interesting because this might be good for the NBA because of the amount of talent and skilled players they have. Because you said Kareem. Before that, it was like Wilt and Russell. Wilt and Russell were like the clear best players, right? Kareem was clearly the best player in the 70s.
Good as Jerry West was, good as Oscar Robertson was. Yep.
The 80s was clearly Magic and Bird. The 90s, obviously Jordan. Right. The 2000s was kind of Shaq, Kobe,
Tim Duncan
as the face. Not Tim Duncan. We're talking about best player, but the face was really Shaq and Kobe.
Sure.
And then you moved into James, and it's been James for 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a point where, and the one thing that was similar with all those guys is they were the best players, right? They were on the best teams. They either won or got to a lot of NBA championships. Yep. And it was easy to make them the face because, hey, they were on all the primetime games anyways. The cities they played in helped, except for LeBron, obviously Cleveland not being the big market. So now you find yourself when we're talking about the best player, you might say, hey, Giannis is still the best player. Mm-hmm. But there are, for the face of the league, I don't think there's going to be a team or a player that's just winning multiple 2-3 championships.
Right.
And so is it Jokic? Is it Giannis? Is it Tatum who can't, right? Can he win one? Is it going to be Luka who might be in the argument for one of the, he's top 5 easily, right? But will he be the best player? But are the Mavs going to win? Can you be the face of the league if you're not winning?
No, it has to be on a consistent level.
And that speaks really highly of the NBA right now because you have these 5 or 6 guys who, if their teams just happen to win 2 or 3 in a row, no problem. They could be the face. I think we're going to see more of a like running back by committee, right? Instead of the face, it might be, like back with Bird and Magic, it might be these 4 guys who are like the, 2 in the East, 2 in the West, and create that rivalry between them. Because I think you're right. I don't think there's that one person who can elevate to say like, I'm the face of the league.
And to add to that, the fact that we have the parity that we have, if I'm not mistaken, Tone, since I think in the last 5 years, we have 5 different NBA champions. I don't think we're going to have somebody that's going to run off 4 straight in the next 5 years.
Since the Raptors ended the Warriors dynasty, you're absolutely correct.
I think we got 5 different NBA champions. I doubt very seriously that we're going to have a team that's going to run off 3 of the next 4 or 4 of the next 5 in the next, So with that being said, like H just said, we're going to have, they're not going to be able to be mentioned in the face as a face of the league if you're not winning. So we could have we could have teams where, you got different teams winning it and this guy is the face or this guy is a part of that conversation. I don't think that there's just going to be one guy. So like H said, we're talking about the Boston Celtics. They may very well win the NBA championship in the 23-24 season. If that happens, that elevates Jason Tatum even more, and that elevates his status, just like it did Giannis in 21. right? So if Dallas becomes better in the next 2 or 3 years and Luka does it, I think that even enhances the Euro because it's already legit. Joker has already legitimized what the Euro has done for the game today. Now, if Luka were to do that, I think that would even enhance it even more.
So two things real quick. One, if if Jokic and the Nuggets were able to win 3 out of the next, well, they already won 1. So if they win 2 out of the next 3, and we're seeing the return of the big man, and now he's clearly the best big man, and they've won 3 out of the 4. He might be the one that elevates, but that's asking a lot of them to win 2 out of the next 3.
Right.
For those of you in the chat, I'll ask Hailey a question. After the Raptors beat the Warriors in that final, what did they do the next year?
Who, the Warriors?
Yeah.
Missed the play-in.
Dynasty's over.
We won a chip. You can't even say that. They've won a chip. When was the last time you guys won a chip, Fluent? 2019. When was the last time the Warriors won a chip, Fluent?
No.
2021.
Don't take it personal.
22.
The dynasty is over once you miss the playoffs. Once your dynasty's over. A dynasty means
that
you
rule?
continually
But
win.
if you make it back and win a championship,
that's great. Good for you.
No.
Your dynasty's over. Your dynasty's over. Your dynasty is.
That sounds like a lot of sour grapes, H Boogie. That's what.
No, you can't miss the playoffs and your dynasty continues. No, that's the end of it. Now you could start a new one. You can have
sound like a lot of. It just sound like that sound like from Tone over. That sound like a lot of sour grapes. He wants that dynasty to be over.
But
That's
actually, I can get on board with that second statement. I can get
It
on board. Okay, so we had 2 dynasties. If you really want to say that, almost the exact same core, but
you missed the playoffs. You're done.
That's crazy. But I had a question for you guys. I actually asked this on my live earlier. Speaking of the face of the league, but be honest. Okay, let's just take the totality of the last 5 seasons, okay? Both of these guys have won a chip. Giannis and Jokic, okay? And so I asked a question. I said, who is the better player in the league right now when we look at it? Because not only do both of them have 2 MVPs, Giannis has that Defensive Player of the Year, but Jokic is just, his stats are absolutely insane. He's broken record after record, but then so has Giannis. And actually, if you look at their career, it's very similar kind of what the accolades, I guess, that they have. Yeah. So heading into next season, I think a lot of us would have said Giannis was the best player. We thought he would be kind of gassed out or flamed out in the finals. And then now we have next season. So who do you think maybe could take their next step and be the better player? Who do you think is the better player?
Well, if I'm being consistent, I felt like in 2001, 2002, 2003, when Tim Duncan won the league MVP for the 2nd straight year, won the NBA championship. I believe that was the 3rd time. That was the 2nd time in 5 years he had won it and won the NBA championship. I couldn't, as much as I felt about Shaq, as much as I felt that Shaq was the best player in the game, I couldn't deny. I felt like he was a better player, but I couldn't deny what Tim Duncan was doing. Now you fast forward to 2000 to 2009, 2010. I felt like James was the better player, but the fact that Kobe Bryant had won the league MVP, won the NBA championship in back-to-back seasons, and won the Finals MVP, I couldn't deny that's the best player on the planet because I felt like the same thing that I said with Tim Duncan, I gotta apply that same energy with Kobe Bryant. Well, I got to do the same thing when it comes to Joker because now we're talking about a guy who won the league MVP in back-to-back seasons, and not only did he win the league MVP in back-to-back seasons, his team wins the NBA championship, and he's the Finals MVP. Even if I still feel like Giannis is the better player, even if I do feel like that, because what he does on the defensive side of the basketball, how good he is in transition, how consistent he is as a scorer. Even if I do feel like he's the best player, if I'm being consistent and I'm being honest, Joker is the best player on the planet going into the 23-24 season.
So Giannis is the best player on the planet because he plays defense. Jokic is by far the best. Jokic is the best offensive player I give it between the two. But if you're talking about overall player, right? The gap between what he gives you as a playmaker, because they both score. They score in very different ways, but they both score. Giannis actually scores more per game, and I don't think he's as efficient. I'm pretty sure he's not as efficient. No. So I'm Jokic for sure on the offensive end, but the gap between what they give you on offense in very different ways is closer than the gap in defense. So as long as Giannis is healthy, he's still the better overall player. but I think Jokic brings so much to today's NBA on the offensive end that it's crazy. But I'll still go with Giannis. And to Sebastian, just quickly, the Bulls were a dynasty. You're right. When they won 3 chips, and then they didn't take 2 years off. They still made the playoffs those 2 years, and then won 3 more. And then the next year, when they missed the playoffs, the dynasty was over. Doesn't matter what they did after. Like, let's say they went back to the NBA final 2 years after that. Doesn't matter. You missed the playoffs, your dynasty's done.
That's Fluent's rule, not mine. That's Fluent's world.
My opinion. That's my opinion. Just like the dynasty for the Spurs was over when they went 6 years without going to an NBA final. I don't care. You're still in the playoffs. Your dynasty's over. It's about winning.
So that's it. So we're using that same logic with the Patriots too, because they didn't win a bowl game for 10 years.
Didn't win.
Yeah, they had a decade.
They had 2 separate dynasties.
But it was 1 year it was 2 years for the Golden State.
But for me, once you miss the playoffs, that last thing, it's over. It's done.
Wasn't they back in the playoffs the next year?
Yeah, and what about injuries? That's a good question. What if people were injured and that's why they lost? Klay Thompson.
Too bad they was back in.
Nah. No, that is not. No.
Klay did miss 2 seasons. He did.
That's not working for me.
He missed 2 seasons, and the next season he came back. They won the NBA championship again.
Don't care. The only people who are arguing is Warriors fans.
Yeah, we always find ourselves here, don't we? We cry and cry. Dorian Clayton, what is good?
Spoiled. I can't wait till you're missing the playoffs again.
I know. It's coming soon. I'm prepared. Thank you. All right, Dorian. Thank you so much for the super chat. Build a starting 5 up of MVPs from the past 5 decades, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. 1 MVP per decade. Keep the players to their true position and place them on a current team to have to have that team's bench.
Okay. So we got one MVP per decade.
Yeah.
And that's easy. At the point guard, Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 90s at the 2 guard, that's Jay. At the 3, at the small forward in
2010s, LeBron.
Yeah.
2010s
is James. In the 2020s, the 4-man, that would be Giannis.
And then big man.
Was Shaq won his MVP? Shaq won his MVP in the 2000s.
Shaq did win his MVP in the 2000s. Shaq won his MVP in the 2000s. James won his MVP in the 2010. In the 2010s. Wait a minute, I need a small forward though.
No, you had LeBron at this.
I got James. I got James. Yeah. I need a 4-man.
Our power
I got Giannis.
You had Giannis as
a 4.
So I got Magic, Jordan. I got Magic, Jordan, James, Giannis, Diesel.
Yeah. The only thing I would that we came up with that together. What I was thinking in my head was Magic, Jordan, Duncan, James, Jokic.
But isn't Duncan? Did he play forward as well?
Oh, Duncan's the best power forward of all time. He's my 4.
He played the 4.
Or I mean, Giannis
played the 5 too, but
I mean, Giannis.
He played
Giannis isn't a small forward.
Giannis is a 4. Yeah, him at the 4.
Played the 4.
Yeah.
James plays the 3. Giannis plays the 4.
Giannis plays the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm saying what I was thinking before we figured that out was Giannis.
He doesn't have Giannis on his team.
I was replacing Giannis. I was replacing Giannis at the 4 with Jokic at the 5, and I was putting Tim Duncan at the 4.
Right.
Oh, that would be
because I want a big man who's passing to all those other dudes. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jokic is.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Just think about that. I have Magic, LeBron, and Jokic passing the ball to Jordan. He might score 100.
And Giannis too, by the way. You got Giannis cleaning glass.
Yeah, no one's going through him.
No, you got Giannis cleaning glass, and you got Duncan cleaning glass. My goodness. No, not Giannis. I'm sorry. You got Duncan and Joker cleaning glass.
You have Duncan.
And Magic and Jokic just passing.
Man,
that defense too.
That's a good
might
squad.
Be the greatest. Yeah, that might be the greatest team of all time.
Yeah,
and he said, "Don't forget to put them on a current team." So.
Oh yes.
So you got to put them on a current team.
Yeah, who's got the deepest bench?
So I'm putting Magic on that.
No, you put all 5. No, you're putting all 5.
Yeah, it's a team. with the bench.
You're getting rid of their existing starting five. So if you put them on the Warriors, you don't have Steph, you don't have Clay, you don't have anybody, and then you get the guys on the bench.
And place them on a current team to have that team's bench.
Next, no, I think the Clippers have one of the best benches. Pels have a pretty good bench.
That's a good one. All right, so I got my 5 in Magic, Jordan, James, Giannis, and Diesel, and I got to take a team with a bench, with a good bench. Let's see. Oh, that's easy. Orlando.
Go ahead. Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando. That 5 with that Orlando bench. Yep.
Okay. Vibes. I like it.
Just so Andrew's in the chat saying he didn't. So this isn't you. I don't care. Call me out and say, "Hey, it's Andrew from the live." Oh, okay.
Live. Yeah, that's him. Wait, what did he say?
No, Andrew said he didn't he doesn't have IG and he didn't message me. So it's a good thing I didn't bring that person on the show trying to fraudulently get on the show.
By the way, Fluent, I don't have an Instagram, so I didn't DM you.
Yeah.
He definitely did. Andrew.
You wouldn't have to. I told you, Tony, he was not going to come up here.
Oh,
yeah.
I told you that he wouldn't come up here. All he is talk. Him in particular. All he is talk. He won't
so
come
Dorian, just so you think Orlando has the best bench in the?
No, I think they got I think they got one of the best young benches, and then I'm thinking about that crew with Magic. I'm thinking about that crew with Jordan, and how much better they're going to be, and we moving into the next phase. How they're going to get these guys ready, and how they're going to keep this thing going longer, as opposed to we just winning right now. No,
I think I would put them on with Memphis.
I don't know if I'm loving that coaching situation.
I'm taking Clippers.
No, he didn't say anything about coaching.
Oh, yeah. You have to take the coach too. So.
Oh, if I'm taking coaching, then then I'd take Miami.
Wait, who's Orlando's coach again?
Because I don't care who the bench is. Spo will take care of them.
Yeah, who needs it? LeBron's on the team. Okay. Let's see. Did you guys send anything? Okay, Corbin.
Milwaukee had Bobby Portis, who should have been the 6th man of the year. But anyways, go ahead.
I thought he was the 6th man of the
year. Corbin, just wanted to know why we don't talk about Oscar Robertson as much as others. My grandpa constantly talks about him, and happy 100K. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the 100K. No question about that. There's plenty of us who talk about Oscar Robertson.
Yeah, I talk about the big O all the time.
Yeah, we talk about the big O all the time.
I think I might be one of the few who still has him top 5. Point guard of all time, but
I got him too. I got him in the top 5. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
on Fluent and Chill, we'll share some love for sure. Tell your grandpa to watch. So okay, wood to wood. What more can Nico do to help the Mavs improve their current roster? How would y'all grade the offseason for him so far?
I think getting Grant Williams helps some on the perimeter with your defense. I think you were able to shore that up. This kid Lively, I'm really interested to see how he pans out, because you needed a starting center, because I don't think Powell is a starting center on a playoff team, let alone I don't think he's a starting center in the NBA, let alone a playoff team. So
shout out to the Canadian Dwight Powell.
I think that helps. So now what has to happen is with Grant Williams defending on the perimeter, that's just a piece of it. I still think you need to shore up some more of that perimeter defense. I would have really liked to see you guys hold on to Thibault. That would have been great if you could have held on to him. I think he would have been really good for you guys, but you weren't able to hold on to him. I think you need to shore up your perimeter defense a little bit more, because Grant Williams isn't enough. He's helping, but he isn't enough.
Yeah,
And as far as, and I like what you guys did in the offseason, but I think that he's going to help. I just don't think he's enough.
Yeah, I still feel like there's some pieces missing. And Jay, what do you think about J Kidd? Like the fan base seems a bit split on J Kidd. They think he's too. Remember, he kind of threw some people under the bus, but at the same time, I like J Kidd. I'm definitely biased. I really enjoy the way he handles things. But how do you think that'll work? Will he be a coach by the time playoffs come?
I think he'll still be there. I know that it looks a little tricky. I mean, we got to remember that team was just in the Western Conference Championship the year before. Yeah. Now, when you completely eliminate the majority of your perimeter defense, and you add that, and you just add another scorer, this is what it's going to look like. Now, Jason Kidd being a defensive guard and demanding more out of Luka, I think that that's going to be different. I do. I'm more on board with Jason Kidd. 100% I am.
Same. I like it a lot. If they can adapt and be teachable for sure. All right, Mello. Oddly enough, Giannis has played all 5 positions in his career. Really?
Has he?
Point guard?
I don't remember him being the lead guard. I don't ever remember
yes,
that.
absolutely.
Maybe
Giannis
in Greece?
No. Early on with the Bucks, Giannis was playing like the point forward. Absolutely, he was doing
Or like
that.
Dre, kind of?
Well, he does that now, Tone, but I'm talking like
he was actually he was like officially like he was who was the coach there? I think it might have been when J Kidd was there, now that I think about it. And he was he was running him at the point. Absolutely. Yeah.
But he was there. So like in a Scottie Pippen kind of role.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Might as well. You never know how how somebody will. Angie, honestly, even if they won the next 2, if the Heat fell to the Bulls in 2011 and D Rose and CO won the chip, how does it affect Bron and Rose's legacy?
How does it? If the Heat fell to the Bulls, well, first of all, that Heat team, I want to make sure I'm understanding your question. So the Heat they lose to the Bulls and they don't even get to the NBA Finals. And Derrick Rose and company, they win the chip that year. How does that affect his legacy? Well, I think it's a little bit different because I don't think James plays. Man, like we don't talk. The reason why we talk about James as much as we do in the NBA Finals is because of how bad he played. If they end up losing to Derrick Rose, league MVP at that time,
60 win team,
a 60-win team, I think we're talking about them a little bit differently as opposed to the flame out that he had in the NBA Finals. I don't think that, especially if they came back and won it the next year. Right?
Well, does everything else stay the same? Because
that's what I'm talking about.
Then Derrick Rose becomes the biggest what if because he wins a chip and then gets hurt and his career's over. Derrick Rose, by the way, same age as Steph Curry, I believe. How crazy is that? Yes. He feels like he's 10 years older. But so we're talking about Derrick Rose as the biggest what if because now he's an MVP who won an NBA championship in the same season in Chicago and then gets hurt. And then I think it actually helps LeBron's legacy because he doesn't have that 2011 flame out. They just say, hey, lost to a better team. It was their first year together, the super team. If they then go to the next 3 finals and win 2 of them, and then he goes back to Cleveland, same thing. Yeah, you don't have that negative kind of again, I'm assuming he doesn't play unless he plays terrible against the Bulls. But if he might actually help him. I just want to know, just so you guys know, there is some controversy. Andrew G, the one on Instagram, is messaging saying, "Fluent, you a lying ass. I'm the real Andrew G, dead ass. The one on YouTube, chat is lying. I want smoke with Chill."
How would he
know?
So
come on in.
Bro, if you weren't in the chat, if you were not in this chat, you wouldn't be texting there. Dude, lying is, I don't like it. Like it. So you don't have to come up. If you're not comfortable, that's totally fine. Like we
just say that, H. That's it. Just say that.
Don't lie about it.
Just say that.
We got you.
Just say that.
Yeah.
You a goofy.
It's
cool that you a goofy.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a good thing I don't block anybody. Anyways, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. All right, FIFA boy. Hailey and OG, I'm gonna make you 2 hop on the cowboy train.
No, you are not. You will not. That is not gonna happen. You will not make that happen. So
yeah,
I bet they are.
That is crazy, yo. No. I'm legit telling the truth. Are you 8 years old?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew G's. Andrew G's are fighting with themselves. The Andrew G's.
Yeah, we good.
But yeah, you guys, we're probably gonna wrap the show up. But I did want to say, if you came in late, definitely go watch the beginning of the show. We got to have Sarah Spain on, and she's so dope. You'll definitely, I think you'll really enjoy listening to it and just hearing her take on a little bit of NFL, a little bit of NBA, especially if you're from Chicago. Go get a taste of that. But yeah, we had a great show today, and we're gonna definitely try to keep having some more guests on. But we've been doing good. We're on a little run. So
yes, we are.
How about next week?
Yeah.
How about next week?
Yeah.
we could get celebrities. I know LeBron's asking to come on, Dwayne Wade's asking to come on, Michael Jordan's asking to come on. I don't give a crap about them. What about next week, in honor of kind of the week buildup to our 100K show, which will be after next Thursday's show? That Saturday will be. Why don't we make next Thursday's show all super chats, all guests, like chat people coming in?
Yeah,
all right, I'm down to do that.
All day guests ask questions and get to the bottom of things. Yeah,
I'm down to do that.
Only if Andrew comes on.
It's a viewership show. That's what it is.
Yes.
We got a viewership show next week. I'm feeling that. Yeah.
Maybe we can get this guy Throat Swallows from TikTok who says I'd cook your ass in a debate on your dumb show. And I said, cool, come up. I was going to say this to you guys 2 weeks ago. I forgot. I said, come through. I said, here's the link. He said, anytime, any place. I said, here's the link. Come up this Thursday. This is week 3. You're still not here. No. Where are you, Throat Swallow? That's not his name. I'm just making fun of him.
If you guys do have questions or you think of something right now, to always comment it under this video, because obviously it helps us, but also I can go there, put some questions together, and we can bring those on the show next week as well. But yeah, make sure to get those likes up too, you guys, because we're trying to build the show, trying to build this thing. We appreciate you guys, can do it without you. So yeah, I think that's all we got for tonight. My brain's I'm trying not to think.
Your brain's fried? What's happening?
I'm tired tonight for some reason.
You want me to play you out like it's the Oscars?
It's gonna go. Oh man! All right, you guys. Any last thoughts?
Sarah Spain was dope.
Shout out to Sarah Spain.
Sarah Spain was dope. Right, take it light, but take it.